Alright. Wrong account. I was like, who is this guy? Hello, Sims. Right back at you. Even after 6 years, you haven't changed a bit. I'm so hungry. How hungry? Although your body's gotten gigantic, you're still a kid inside. I'm a kid too. Well, you aren't gonna be a kid forever, are you, Maria? I mean, you're gonna grow from being a kid to a cute young lady, aren't you? And when that happens... Great start. No, Maria-chan. You can't make that kind of promise. That's bad. I promised. I keep my promise. Maria, you're a really earnest good girl. The guy the guy you marry is gonna be really lucky. Vima. This is Rumi's goat. It's not a good look, Rumi. It's not a good look. I might have to leave your server. Just don't try to smooth over the topic with a promise line intact. Maria, that promise never happened. Never. Promise cancelled. I realize now it really didn't feel like a proper gathering of cousins without Battler-kun in our group, did it? These 6 years have been kind of lonely. That's true. We weren't able to goof off like this. Still, we did have some pretty constructive conversations, don't you think? Stuff about preparing for our future, exam taking, or finding jobs. Be patient with him, he's so stupid. He just hasn't gone through trauma yet. He's too much of a rich boy right now. Once we enter the manor, and once Beatrice starts killing everyone, that's when, he's gonna start maturing. He needs trauma. Oh, I'm sorry. Now that I'm here, that's just his stupid babbling. But I'm having fun this year. That's true. I agree, this year is the most fun. Maria's sincere words probably spoke for everyone. When George Aniki stroked Maria's head, she giggled like a happy kitten. Which one's this one again? This one's the lady maid. Pardon me, your meal is prepared. A timid knocking sound and an equally timid young woman's voice came through the door. Speaking of, I don't think I read her description, her bio. I guess because she hasn't met Battler yet, it's not written yet. Jessica answered brightly. Shannon, come in! You remember Battler, don't you? Jessica stood up from the bed opened the door. There stood a servant girl who was definitely about her age. It's been quite some time since we last met, Battler-sama. It's nice to see you after 6 years. I'm Shannon. Noting my presence and trembling a little, she bowed deeply. Wow! I knew it. I was gonna say nothing. I knew he was gonna say something. Wow, Jessica had me surprised, but Shannon-chan, you've shocked me just as much. You turned into a total beauty too, haven't you? Your words are too good for me. Seriously, the food on this island must be really nutritional, huh? What are you eating? Where are you training to get that big? Because I have to see. With both? No way, he actually did. Oh, thank goodness. No, wait, what do you mean by this? For the sake of my honor and justice, I'd like to point out that I don't suffer from some strange disease that makes my lymph nodes itch when I scratch my neck open, and which can only be prevented by... What is he talking about? It's just my Battler-style way of communicating, buddy. When a boy closes in on a girl like this, 9 times out of 10 they get slapped or clobbered, right? This is a Battler-sama original communication technique, aiming for a gag like that to break the ice. This guy is just struggling for excuses here. Well, that means I really do get to touch him on that 1 in 10 chance, though, right? Ew, his laugh. I never asked for that much, though. By now, my hands were less than a centimeter away from Shannon-chan's. But the counter-strike had yet to come. She understood what was going on, and she was blushing and had her head lowered in embarrassment. But she was just standing there with both hands politely joined in front of her, not even trying to resist or cover. Oh, I wasn't planning on this. Please hit me right now. At this rate, I'm seriously gonna which is why I was glad that Jessica clothing. This is why Jessica's the GOAT. This is why Jessica's the GOAT. 1 second. Oh, hi, Amber. Oh my gosh. Phoenix, I forgot to ping you because I got confused with Live a Live. For some reason, I thought this was Live a Live and that one I should not ping you with because you want to play that one. But Umineko, you already finished. I should ping you for this one. I shall remember for next time. My apologies. So early, Jules still snoring. Did they zoom in on the original too? Don't you play the game twice a year? Every year? Shouldn't you know? Red flag, Battler. Which is why I was glad that Jessica chose that time to drive her elbow into the back of my head. Whew, that's my girl. Ow, Jessica, thank you. Why the hell are you thanking me? Huh? No, my bad, Shannon-chan. Looks like I got a little too absorbed in your hypnotic chest. No more to the point, when someone gets that close, they're clearly got criminal intention. Seriously, you've got to resist. But... You are an exalted guest, Butler-sama. Now look here, a crime's a crime whether I'm a guest or not. Okay, alright. At least he has some senses. 10 centimeters around a girl's chest is like an air defense identification range. If someone trespasses within 2 centimeters, that's already an invasion of airspace, and you launch a slap to the face on high alert. I couldn't do such a thing. That is, furniture, and of course she didn't want her chest touched, but if a guest so desires, she intended to sacrifice her own needs in an effort to accommodate them. A girl like this needs some urgent protection. In these days, to think that there's a delicate and virtuous girl like this, it makes my head spin. But no. I come at you with a pervert face. You smack me down. No, pervert. You gotta complete the joke or it doesn't work. Please, it's a polite request. Smack me. Like this. Smack. Smack. This guy is so insane. I cannot comply with polite requests because some furniture, but I will comply with it if it's in order because that is my duty. And then I'll make the order. From now on, if Butler-kun tries to touch your chest, you are to counterattack with a slap. Alright? Yes, as you command. That is what I will do from now on. Butler-sama, I hope you can keep that in mind. So Shannon-chan declared while bowing elegantly to me. Her facial expression was radiant. I gave her a thumbs up to signal, you got it. 6 years ago, you might have been mistaken for a servant's daughter who just came in to lend a hand sometimes, but now you're a full-fledged adult servant. How many years has it been? Well, I've had the pleasure of serving this household for about 10 years. What? Didn't they say she was 16, or am I thinking of Kanon? It's the way I came in just at this scene. Hi, Mitra. I literally asked my friend Ruby here to give me a random picture, and they gave me that. I think it's a banger. How hungry. The kanji for her name is Areta Shannon. That is another far from typical name from a Japanese person. Being a kid back in those days, I had taken in her name without paying it much attention, but for her to be called something like that is pretty unusual given that she isn't even a member of the Ushiromiya family. Maybe it's like a servant's professional name or something. If so, I can kind of understand why that Kanun-kun's name sounds the way it does too. She's a long-term servant who served here since she was 6. Since her body had changed radically, she didn't match... cat, away from the keyboard. Since her body had changed radically, she didn't match my memories, but we used to know each other 6 years ago. Wait, Mitra, you don't know Umineko? You are such a person who would know this game. I'm surprised you don't. It's just a old visual novel, apparently the greatest piece of written media ever conceived, that rivals the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Odyssey. So we are seeing about that. My first time playing here. I actually did look it up. Well, I didn't look it up, but I stumbled across someone talking about it. And apparently Umineko is the game with the longest script ever. Like, out of every game ever made, this has the most words in it, which is hilarious. It looked like she was just as shy as she had been in the past, but I got the sense that she had become imbued with the charm befitting a girl her age. Especially her chest, of course. The kid we met earlier, Kanun-kun, is her little brother. Wait, hold up. Really? He's not exactly my little brother. Still, he loves me like a big sister. He didn't cause you any trouble, did he? Okay, so not blood related, right? Why would George say that? He's the same as always. It's a shame that he doesn't act just a bit more sociable. It seems Kanun-kun has caused trouble. I apologize. He didn't cause any trouble at all. As a fellow man, I understand how moody you can get at that age. It's no surprise that he's unsociable. I get called that all the time too. Get called unsociable. Like Kanun. Maria-sama, you are not unsociable at all. It was nice to be like him. You said the meal was ready, right? Yes. My apologies. My apologies. The preparations for your meal have been carried out, so I shall be guiding you all to the mansion. Yes, we're finally going! Shannon bowed again formally and returned to her duty mode. We realized that if we made her stick around for any more light conversation, it would actually make it harder for her to do her job, so we got off from our butts to avoid interfering with her work any further. I think I watched an anime on Discord with my FC and that was wild. Really? At least you'd have some connection to it. True, said the masses. I can believe that. This is long. Non-blood related stepsis child's... Oh my gosh. Calm down now. Shall we get to the mansion then? You're all probably starting to get hungry as well, right? Sure am. I always look forward to meals when Goda-san's here cooking. That guy seems he was a chef at this famous hotel, so he's super good at it. I'm looking forward to that. Let's go, Maria. We gotta stuff ourselves like pigs. Stop talking like that around her. Stuff ourselves like pigs. No, you can't just take everything Butler says seriously, okay? Because it's all jokes. Come on, let's go. Under Shannon-chan's guidance, we headed towards the mansion. Wait, that's the mansion? No, that's not guest house. I just want to see the mansion from like the outside, the outerior, not just this. I want to see the entirety of it. Met once again by the magnificent rose garden, we continued onward as it came into view, the imposing mansion of the Ushinomiya main family. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you could feel the dignity of almost a half-century hanging about it. On the surface, the building was gorgeous, but being as old as it was seemingly lacking in modern amenities like air conditioning. Ugh, really? I mean... That's rough. What do you even do without air conditioning? I guess you pay your servants to blow fans. Because without, electric lights, you just use lamps. And for winter, fireplaces, but... What do you do for air conditioning? You just die. I never thought about it. Live mansion reaction. According to Jessica, midwinter was especially tough, with all the drafts. Well, it's not like they couldn't just take the kotatsu out. There's a sound effect that plays when you open the game. Moonlit night. As we entered the entrance hall, an aged servant greeted us. Now him I remembered. At the most senior members of the staff, As the most senior member of the staff, Genji-san served as the head of the servants. Butler-sama, we have not met in a long while. As our eyes met, he saluted us with a composed voice. Saluted? He didn't give quite a refined a bow as Koda. But it was a bow that had feeling even if it wasn't polished to the same degree. Genji-san, it's been absolutely ages. You look well. Thank you. I have been quite well. And you, Butler-sama, I see, have become a splendid young man yourself. I would even say you have grown to somewhat resemble the master during his youth. I'm looking like grandfather? I guess that means grandfather was pretty popular when he was young. From here on, I shall take Shanon's place and accompany you. Please come this way. Shanon-chan bowed deeply and saw us off. Leaving the entrance hall, we headed to the dining hall under Genji-san's guidance. Genji-san, just like Kumasawa-san, stood in the stark contrast to us young people who had grown beyond recognition over the last 6 years. His figure was exactly the same as in my memories of 6 years ago. It seemed like time had stopped since the last we met. Genji-san was a silent and diligent person. He was like grandfather's close aide or caregiver. In fact, you could even go so far as to say he was grandfather's right-hand man. Actually, it seems that he was by grandfather's side more than my late grandmother was. According to Jessica, grandfather trusts him more than any of his blood relatives, but I wonder how long he served. I've never asked for details, but I think I've heard he's been here since the beginning, when this mansion was constructed. Okay. So I was gonna say this before the last stream, but this is even more. So, Kinso said himself that literally everything he has was given to him by Beatrice because of the contract. And basically, he didn't say it outright, but basically everything that Kinso owns, the fortune, the mansion, it all basically belongs to Beatrice, because once Kinso dies, Beatrice is gonna take everything. So, I am absolutely certain that every single one of the servants are either, if she really is a witch, are creations of Beatrice, or they're like, I don't know, demons from the contract, or also are like, they don't have contracts with Beatrice, but she is like forcing them to serve her because of some other contract-like thing. So that's what I'm thinking. Especially now that Butler said that this guy has been here since literally the start. Like, you don't just hire a butler immediately after getting rich. You take a bit for that. Something else that I was gonna say is, since the last time I played, I was thinking that Kinso's pretty much seemed at his deathbed during the prologue. And then they said, last stream, like I think Jessica said that they keep saying that grandfather has 4 months to live, right? But the wording on that was weird. Like, they keep saying he has 4 months to live, which means that he keeps living past 4 months. So, I actually thought between then and now that I am semi-confident that Kinso did die. He is dead. But what he was talking about, everything he owned being taken away, was like metaphorical. It's not actually all going to disappear. It's just that it's all going to belong to Beatrice. And wait, something tells me that I said this last stream, but I don't think I did. Anyways, I am under the belief that Beatrice has taken over the body of Kinso. I think either she literally took over his body, or he's literally just not there anymore. Like, they said already that he has not come out of his study for like ages. Right? Jessica said that last stream, that Kinso has not come out of his study for forever. He keeps living past what he has been told he was gonna live. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even see him, like, anytime soon. But if we do, then it's a body snatching. But if we don't, that means that he is not there anymore. Okay, I just wanted to say that. You could only have been born in this century? What do you mean by that? Keep yapping, bestie. I saw you send something. I read that as like keep reading Bestie at first, but I'm glad that you enjoy the yap session. Alright, we begin now. Anyways, TLDR, all the servants are demons, and Kinso's dead, and Beatriz is serving as the head of the household, although nobody knows this. That is to say, he's dedicated half of his life to serving here. What did Orion said? This is what happens when you don't read chat for forever. I said that century comment when you were talking about air conditioning. I get too engrossed. That is to say, he's dedicated half his life to serving here. No wonder grandfather trusts him. No, wait, hold up, but still, I don't understand. Are you saying that I would survive without air conditioning? All the servants are 56 Pikmin in a trench coat. That is, I mean, there could be 56 imps in a trench coat, you know? That makes sense. As we cut through an open ceiling hall behind Genji-san, I found something I had no memory of from 6 years ago. Done. There it is. There it is. Okay. Weird. Okay. Before I continue, I legit thought no one knew about Beatriz, but there is a gigantic portrait of Beatriz here. So this basically confirms it that Beatriz is the grandmother. She absolutely is the grandmother, and everyone just sees her as the mistress of the house, although she is gone apparently. So, I mean, it was basically obvious, right? But I wanted confirmation. So, it is 100% a fact that they are all blood related to Beatriz if Kinso married Beatriz and she's the grandmother, which explains her hair and her hair. But you, I'm still curious, because red hair is too much, right? They couldn't have just given him red hair for aesthetic purposes. It has to mean something. So we know that he's blood related now. Well, allegedly. But something tells me that he's like more blood related. Like he's closer to Beatriz than we think he is. He is not this far removed. Either that, or when he was being born, Beatriz put like a curse on oh my gosh, that would... No. Okay, I was gonna say that maybe that's why Usumu left. No, she didn't she? Oh, I don't remember. Okay, here's the thing. No, don't tell me because I forgot, but I don't remember if Asumo, the mother of Battler, left the manor to go live with her parents with Battler, which would lead me to believe that she left because she discovered what's going on and that her belly was cursed and wanted to keep Battler away from all that witchcraft. Or if that didn't happen and Battler only went to live with his grandparents because Asumo died, then, I mean, that could also mean, like, probably Beatriz killed Asumo after she cursed her belly to make Battler even more Beatriz coded. But we shall see. Anyways, very good. Also, we have 2 new portraits that I haven't read. Shannon, a young but experienced servant. She's normally calm and performs her jobs flawlessly, but she messes up when she gets nervous. Furthermore, Shannon is nothing more than a pseudonym that she uses when on duty, not her real name. Uh-huh. Okay, so these are both pseudonyms. That's why they don't have last names. These are real names. Okay, so no last name equals it's a nickname. It's only them two. Runoe Genji, head servant leading all the other servants who work for the Ushiromiya family, has served Kinso longer than any other and has earned his greatest trust. Since he serves Kinso directly, Kraus and Natsuhi think of him as Kinso's spy. Another thing. The whole demon or people being forced to work for Beatriz due to unsavory methods is even more compounded by the fact that, again, like I pointed out last time, they all have red neckties. Wait, you don't. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. But these three have red neckties, as if, like dog collars to keep them in check. She doesn't, and now apparently he doesn't either. I thought he did. So these two are suspicious. We'll see about that. Not much to say on that. We shall see. He has red hair because he's inspired by Ruby It's so true. It was an awful big portrait hung right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. Okay, Reese's again, just a small thing to point out is just that, just like Eva, her whole body is covered in the family sigil. And Eva has, like, exactly her hair. So I don't know what that means, if anything, but maybe she is, like, the closest to how Beatriz used to act or something. Without thinking, I stopped walking under its spell. Since I've suddenly stopped, Maria, who was following behind me, ran into my back. Sorry. Hey, Jessica, did that picture used to be there? I pointed at the large and conspicuous portrait hanging in the hall. Everyone else stopped too. So here's the part where they say, oh yeah, it's just some random picture of some nobody that grandfather hung up for some reason. So the whole grandmother theory is out of the window. Right. When you last came here, that hadn't been hung yet, had it? When was it again? I think, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was around the year before last. You are correct. In April of the year before last, the master had this painting put on display, which he had instructed an artist to paint for him sometime prior. Grandfather did that? So he went out of his way to have it drawn. The portrait depicted a woman in an elegant dress who gave off a sense of refinement and who seemed to suit the western style of this mansion. Another thing that's weird is that Kinsu was begging to see Beatrice's smile again, and yet he didn't commission a portrait of her smiling. Odd. I couldn't have guessed her age, but the sharpness and obvious strength of will in her eyes gave me the impression of youth. It was a different feeling than the composed mood of middle-aged women that are often in famous pictures. If this woman had normal black hair, I might have thought it was a portrait of my long-deceased Darn it! Okay, so I still believe. Okay, they know how their grandmother looks like, right? They have to, which means either Beatriz was under some disguise or she was not the grandmother at all. But like, come on, a lot of them have her hair color. So either Kinso married a random person and then had a fling with Beatriz, or Beatriz disguised herself as a random woman to marry Kinso, or Kinso married a random woman and then Beatriz, because of the contract, still cursed his bloodline to have like her genes and her blood or whatever, and that's why Eva and Maria have her hair color and why Battler has red hair. However, the woman in the portrait had beautiful golden hair and didn't look Japanese at all. So, who is she then, this woman? As though trying to show off her knowledge, Maria answered that simple question with authority. I know. Wow, didn't expect it to just be said like that. Beatriz. What? Beatriz. She's the witch. Didn't you ever hear about her long ago? The witch? You mean of this island? I think I already said this, but Rokkenjima was a small island that's only about 10 kilometers around. However, considering that only the Ushiromiya family lives here, that's quite large. What do you mean I don't read your messages? I did! You explained the joke about air conditioning, but then we saw the Beatriz portrait, so that joke was behind me. And then you said, my goat, my girl, my love. And I agree. And now you said this. I have been reading. It's only a harbor and the site around the mansion were set up to be lived in. Oh, you mean that DM? Yeah, I did read that, but okay, Ruby confirmed. Phoenix is saying that her name is not pronounced Beatriz, but pronounced how they typed it in chat right now. But I didn't reply because it was too late and I was sleepy. But my thought was just that that's not how you pronounce it. That's how in Japanese you pronounce it, because in Japanese you don't have like half the letters in the name. They are unable to pronounce the word tris in Japanese at all. So they have to fix it up with their katakana. Beatrice. Yeah, because the game has a Japanese dub, so people... Alright, Ruby, confirm or deny? Confirm or deny? I am under the impression that they only say it that way because they're Japanese and they can't say it any other way. Ruby's not gonna confirm. He hates us. I am going to continue saying Beatrice because that is what her name is based on Beatrix from Dante's Inferno. Beyond that, the island remained untouched as it was when it was still uninhabited. To understand just how dangerous a vast and empty forest with no lamplight, phones, or people passing through it at all actually is, you need to shift your urban assumptions a little. You see, if by any chance you fell down a hole in the depths of the forest and sprained your ankle, cry or scream, no one would come save you. Ruby Tomata, you must say true to whom? True to me or true to them? If it then got dark, the forest where there are no streetlights would become enshrouded in complete darkness. Also, since there aren't any guideposts here, it's easy to get lost and lose your sense of direction in the dark forest. Nowadays, most people see a forest as a peaceful place, but to the people of bygone eras, before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were like oceans on land, geographically separating one culture from another. Just as fishermen who go out in the ocean occasionally have their lives put in danger despite their technical knowledge. Technical knowledge was also demanded of hunters who went out in the forest. And their lives were occasionally put in danger just the same. If a child were to go play in the dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Some parents might have had the thought. Maybe my grandmother, or possibly the man himself, my grandfather, might have said it. Or maybe it was a story handed down on this island from long, long ago. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. Thus, Rokkenjima's ghost story was born. That is the legend of the witch of Rokkenjima. So when they say witch on this island, we're referring to the master of the vast and savage forest. Which reminds me when I was little and stayed at this mansion during the eerie nights where the wind and rain struck the windows. Stories like the witch of the forest is roaming around me in search of a sacrifice would scare the heck out of me. Beatrice. As I searched my memory prompted by Aniki, I did vaguely remember being told that was her name when I was very small. Right. Still, I completely forgot that the witch of that island had an elegant name like Beatrice. Goddamn, don't tell me grandfather went out of his way to have her depicted in this painting just because us grandchildren refused to believe them. It's the witch from grandfather's delusions. Ever since he had this picture hung up, he's been losing the distinction between fantasy and reality. To us, it's no more than the witch from his imagination, but to grandfather, she's a being who exists on this island. Because he is a denier of knowledge of this show. That's true. I need hard proof. And Ruby is hard proof because he is the fiend. Orion Ember and Exile is the truth. I'm happy with that because it makes sense to me. I just think that Beatrice is the English name because it's based on the, I think, Latin name from Dante's Inferno. But in Japan, they can't pronounce it like that. They have to pronounce it your way because of their dialect. But since they pronounce it that way, that's how it is pronounced in Japan. And everyone who plays this game will pronounce it that way because that's how they hear it. But I try hard not to fit in. So, order denied. To us, it's no more than the witch from this imagination. But to grandfather, she's a being who exists on this island. Exists. That's why he says he had that picture painted, so we'd understand. Creeps the hell out of me. Milady, to the master, this is an important portrait. I must request strongly that you would not say such a thing in front of him. I know that. You couldn't get me to say it even if you begged me. Jessica turned away after glaring a second at the portrait. Let's go. We're making everyone wait in the dining hall. Hungry. Only a small portion of this island is controlled by the Ushiromiya family. If all of the wild remainder was the witch Beatrice's remainder, that's Jesus, the one could say that she was the being who actually ruled over Rokkenjima. That unsettling, ominous feeling I had felt on the boat trip when I learned that the shrine had been struck by lightning revived within me a bit. At that time, Kubasawa-san had tried to tell the ominous story about Rokkenjima and had been stopped by Jessica. I didn't know what she had tried to tell us about this island, but there was one thing I did know. Rokkenjima's ruler was not the Ushiromiya family. It was the witch, Beatrice. Yes, because this was the witch's island. Adler! Slow! When I looked around, everyone was already headed towards the dining hall. I hurriedly chased after them. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining hall. Genjin-san knocked. I have brought the children. If you will excuse me. The door was open and we were invited inside. The dining hall, which screamed filthy rich, featured a super long table which was obviously designed with no other purpose than to make the guests conscious on their rank. And our parents were already seated in accordance with that ordering. You're late, brats! Hurry up and take your seats! The old bastard pressed us to sit. Only the places where we would sit were empty at the long table, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the very end of the table, which you might call the seat of honor, was for the most highly ranked and reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. Yeah. He was probably planning to come in last to make himself look important. The seating order as you faced the seat of honor went from left to right in rows of 2, with the ranking being lowered the further you went from it. Just like the plain seating, I guess. So on the left-hand side of the row, closest to the seat of honor, was the second-ranked seat, belonging to the eldest of the adult siblings, Uncle Kraus. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet either, so that seat was empty. Please, I want to see him. And then opposite of him on the right-hand side of the first row sat the eldest daughter of the family, Auntie Eva, ranked at number 3. The left-hand side of the second row was for number 4. There sat the old bastard Rudolph as the third of the siblings. Opposite him sat number 5, the youngest sibling, Auntie Rosa. Going like this, you might think that the next ones to come would be their husbands and wives, but guess again, because the left-hand seat in the following third row, meaning rank number 6, was actually Jessica's seat. Opposite her was George Aniki. Then the seat next to Jessica was me, and opposite me was Maria. And next to me on the left-hand side of the 5th row, all the way down at number 10, finally came Aunt Natsu. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. All the people without the family crest. In the 6th and final row on the left-hand side was Kairi-san. The seat opposite to Kairi-san had been laid out like the others, but was empty. According to this ranking system, that spot was the seat where Auntie Rosa's husband should be sitting. He hasn't come, as far as I know, yet the table had been laid for his seat. These kind of ranking orders usually permit the spouse a corresponding status, but the Ushiromiya family had an original kind of ranking. I have to say this on this, but if I said that such a small detail being wrong made my skin crawl, would that convince you at all? I mean, I already know, and I am positive that it has some lore implications, but again, I did say no type of help at all, even pronunciations, so there's nothing you can do to convince me anymore, because you basically have already told me that I should keep that in mind, so I will keep it in mind, but I will pronounce it this way. Maybe as a leftover of male chauvinism, under the notion that a mother's womb is only a temporary health, and she contributes no genes, the children of direct descendants would have the highest ranking, followed by the grandkids. I had hair in my mouth. Perhaps for the child, and she contributes no genes. The children of direct descendants would have the highest ranking, followed by the grandkids. Interesting. Meaning that the spouses with no blood ties would be considered the last in line. It's terrible, but according to that ranking order, grandmother, if she was still alive, would be in a position even lower than mine. Rough. In youth, obey your father. After marriage, your husband. After aging, your children. A leftover of the times when they used to say, woman, no home, and 3 worlds. Curious when, the most important character here is a lady witch. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring all this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat with the adult siblings sitting in their group and us cousins in ours. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Aunt Natsuhi married to the eldest son of the family, responsible for managing the household and number 2 for all practical intents and purposes, sat to my right. Which meant that she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It was difficult to guess what was going through her head. That's why I made a small apologetic gesture before sitting down. How nice to see you, Butlerkin. You've grown quite tall, haven't you? Huh? Yeah. Normal life, food, meals, eating, and suddenly I was this tall. Boys do grow fast, don't they? How tall are you? I guess about 180 centimeters. No, wait, you missed your moment. You're supposed to jump in with, did you do anything besides eat? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. After a moment she gave a small laugh, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. The woman is Aunt Natsu. She's the wife of the oldest son of the family, meaning she is my dad's older brother's wife. So complicated. Wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my dad's older brother's wife. It is easier to get it if I call her Jessica's mother. It feels bad to say it like this, but not that I hated her, but I didn't particularly like her. She never got into our kids' circle, and my only impression of her was as someone who always talked about complicated stuff with my parents while having a crabby expression on her face. The fact is that having barely ever exchanged words, I hesitated a lot even just now about how to approach her. And it was pretty much a flop. The silverware had been tidily set up on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in. As a rule, the meal doesn't start until the man in the head of the house has taken his seat. So as long as grandfather, the highest rank, didn't come, lunch would be infinitely on hold. Well, that's gonna be rough. I forgot if you can hear voices or not, but we can't hear them, so... Oh, I have voice acting turned off because I want to read everything. I only have music, sound effects, and everything else but voices turned on. So if you cannot hear them, then... If you cannot hear music or sound effects, then I can turn it up. So let me know if that's the case. Not even the appetizers would come. In other words, this silence in the dining hall was the sound of our parents as they withstood their hunger and waited on tenterhooks for grandfather to come. Except the grandfather I remembered always showed up at the right time when we are together like this. He would never have been so late as to have everyone else waiting on him. Grandfather's pretty late. As far as I can remember, he was always strict about staying on time. Well, maybe 6 years ago, yeah, but not lately. Seriously, he's off in his own little world now. He doesn't even show up at family meals. I figured he'd at least stick around for today's meal, though. That said, if he doesn't turn up, I'll be a hell of a lot more relaxed and happier to boot. Jessica! After being scolded by her mother, Jessica faced the other way, sticking her tongue out. No way around it. Nothing to do but wait for the host to arrive. When I glanced at the clock, I saw that it was almost 20 minutes past 12. Oh crap, we actually see him, okay. He has his own little portrait there as well. The age master of the Ushinomiya head house, Ushinomiya Kinso. He was there in his study. The clock showed noon, but he didn't even attempt to get up. With reading glasses on his face, he stacked up an old-fashioned books with elaborately designed bindings on one on top of another beside him, immersing himself in his reading. I definitely didn't look like it was for his leisure, on the contrary. But one second. I'm back. Voices are important, you might want to turn them on even slightly. The sound of after all. Fine. Whoa. What's all this? What is this about? Explain. He excluded impatience, crisis, as though every minute, every second were precious. The sealed room was dense with dancing dust particles, and the air strengthening mix of smells and various elixirs, each giving up its own suspicious stench. They were somehow sweet and heavy. For anyone with a good nose, the first thing they'd do after entering would be to open a window and ventilate the room. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling father sometimes mingled with the knocks. As Kinso heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book he had in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then he yelled at Kraus, who was continuing to knock on the door. One second. I have returned. Sorry, I got a lot of in real life aggro. Forgot to read this. Kraus called out to his father through the door. Kinso always shut himself up in the study and hated letting even his family into the room. For that reason, Kraus had no choice but to call out dust from the corridor. Jeez! Okay, maybe he's not Beatrice anymore. Maybe my theory was wrong. This guy. Demonic? Green Fairy? Wait, wasn't that the name of the spirit he drank in the prologue? I think so. They did say it was green. Also, it makes sense that he would trust Genji the most if they were hired or made by Beatriz theory is correct. Nanjo? Oh yeah, Nanjo, I remember now. Ew! Saul Goodman? This is gross! Oh man. Can I? I'm so sad. I was so excited to meet him. Ain't no way, dude. Well, we know where Jessica got her hair color now. Yeah, identical. Now we got new bios. Ushiromiya Natsu, Krause's wife, manages the household of the Ushiromiya head family in place of her husband, who takes little interest for this family conference. Again, she was the one who took charge of making all the preparations and arrangements. Possesses a strong sense of responsibility and a great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor his siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from inviolable. Absolutely no reds in her design, by the way. Very, very interesting. And she seems like the most tired with it all. Ushiromiya Kinzo, the aged head of the Ushiromiya family, brimming with the He has the family crest on both left and right, on his right pant and then left neck area. Interesting. The aged head of the Ushiromiya family, brimming with energy despite being pronounced to have only a short time left to live, amassed a vast fortune, but has never made any announcement about his inheritance, which worries his children. Strongly influenced by the West and a rabid fan of the occult, his study is packed with mysterious grimoires. Gosh, why did you have to look like this? Kraus shrugged as though saying it's no use and smiled bitterly. He himself hadn't believed for a moment that his father would answer his calls. However, as it was the duty of the eldest son, he had formally made the request. They're trumpets. Right, he did mention the apocalypse. Oh, Kinzo slammed an old heavy book on the table over and over. The racket obviously indicated his highest displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sing to a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled. I wish they gave us a time and date from the prologue to see how long it's been. Probably a while. Huh? So there's something significant about October 4. Where's my Discord notes? Okay, so it is October 4. Wait, no. Wouldn't it be October 5 now? No, I don't think they slept. Crap, I don't remember. So it's either October 4 or 5. So there's something special about that date. I think they're all waiting for him to die. Also, I was too busy calling him Saul Goodman that I didn't analyze the sign. So, once again, crest on the left, and a red suit. That's new. It's like even more covered. But, you know, it could be a lot of things. Because his inner shirt is blue, but his outer suit is red. I think it's more dangerous when the thing touching your skin is red. I think that means like the redness is more in your close to your heart, close to your body, right? But he's just wearing the redness outside. So perhaps. Check the matalan. Ew. Incredible gift. What I've seen streamers do is put the voices super low but still reads out loud. We shall try. I feel like that would be a bit distracting. Oh, somebody explain what these are. What are these portraits here? Are these to turn off specific voices? Weird. I assume so.
My dad is already dead. All that's here is a phantom of what he once was. At any rate, as long as he lacks the will to leave that room, there's nothing we can do. Kinso-san.
Choking coughs continue to pour from the study.
I'm going back downstairs. There would be a ways to let that lunch go that's so proud of to get a decoder. It's one of the few things the others have to look forward to here.
Kraus spun on his heels. He looked at his wristwatch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain.
Genji-san, father is calling for you. Keep him company. Certainly. Dr. Nanjo, let's go eat. If we stay here any longer, even our sense of taste will go insane from this sweet smell.
Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo looked first to Kraus's back as he disappeared down the stairs, then to the study door, and he let out a deep sigh.
Sorry, Genji-san. Please. Yes, please, leave it to me. It's impossible. If possible, don't give him alcohol. It's a powerful habit.
Genji, not here yet! Who dares keep Genji from coming? Where is Genji? Call for Genji!
Now, please leave it to me. Sorry.
Nanjo gave a small duck of his head and descended the stairs. Genji saw him off and knocked at the study door.
My lord, it is Genji.
Genji! Why must you make me wait so long? There is no one here, I trust.
Yes, I am alone.
Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo believed that his family might try to break into his study. Perhaps someone once opened the window for some air and scattered some important documents or something. and that had made him extremely upset. Now Kinso had placed a secure lock on his room, making it so that without his permission nobody could enter, and locking himself in the dungeon he himself created. Genji, who he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that was not absolute. If Kinso was in a bad mood, even he wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, not even seeing his face, and most of the time they wouldn't even get a real conversation. However, that didn't pose any particular problem for the family. That was because they had no reason to go out of their way to interfere with the retirement of the Kenton Curris, an aged head. The fact that he was completely immersed in his old research and always locked up in his hideaway was something of a benefit. They made the most of his refusal to leave the study, entrusting him to the hands of the servants, while they themselves kept their distance.
Genji, the usual. I'm busy. Yes.
Genji headed to a corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering that they were placed in this shady-looking room, you could almost suspect that they might be ghastly poisons. The inside of the study was filled with the mountainous library of outlandish books that Kinso had amassed. They were bizarre old books, some banned, and each and every one of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. Of course, if one were to actually call them old books, Kinso would fly into a rage and say something like this.
Call them grimoires.
They were candles which had melted in a suspicious-looking fashion and taken on peculiar forms, and all manner of other strange objects, probably having something to do with black magic. The constellations were covering the celestial globe, which would have caused anyone who knew the night sky well to raise an eyebrow. The illustrations described the notebooks haphazardly left open ranged from religious and mystical to the demonic and grotesque, as well as bizarre diagrams of various magic circles, and above all, the sweet poisonous smell that filled the room, which to those entering for the first time would surely be a profound assault on their sense of sight, smell, and all of their other senses, making them lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji with his well-trained hand prepared against his usual drink. So again, this is probably not alcohol, but I'm going to assume that Nanjo believed it is alcohol. So Genji served it immediately without any reservation. And also the fact that Genji has been accustomed to this for sure, but the fact that his senses are not being attacked is just more credence to the belief that they're either demons or something to do with Beatrice. If you didn't know what that ghastly dark green liquid that filled the complexly designed bottle was liquor, you certainly wouldn't want to put it in your mouth. Okay, so it is liquor. So Nanjo just served it without a second thought, which leads you to believe that he wants him to drink it, because that's what Beatrice wants. He poured a small quantity of that spirit into the glass, placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon, and then poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the colorless water was poured into it, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It created a strange visual illusion that the water had caused a chemical reaction, which made it all the more difficult to perceive the concoction as liquor. To this, he added an original flavoring that Kinso liked, to fine-tune the taste. There was no recipe. Success was measured only by Kinso's mood swing when he drank it, and he had learned how to make it only after many decades. Genji placed the glass on a tray and made his way over to Kinso. Kinso was now gazing out the window.
As you asked, my lord. Thank you.
Kinso had regained his composure, so much so that he was now unrecognizable as the man who had been shouting, screaming, and yelling just moments before. In that man's back dwelled dignity and intelligence made plain simply by how he tilted his glass and gazed down the scenery beyond the window. Genji, in order to allow Kinso to set down his glass any time, motionlessly waited behind to his left, as though he were a living sideboard. As he did, Kinso stuck out just the glass, his gaze still directed at the world outside the window. There were just a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it up upon the tray, as Genji expected, but was a motion to hand his glass over to Genji.
Drink it, my friend. That is more than I deserve. No need for ceremony between us. Drink it, friend. Thank you.
Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste the contents. Then he downed it at one gulp. Again, very suspicious. He just drank this potion like nothing.
I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how I try, I cannot replicate the taste. The way you make it is pure relish. Thank you very much. It is the fruit of your guidance, my lord.
Kinso smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. It was relaxed, like a smile at a close friend's unwritable bad habit.
We have grown old, you and I. I forgot my age a long time ago.
That I was permitted to live the life I have until today has all been thanks to you, my lord. Kinso gave a thin smile, as if to say he didn't need compliments.
You have served me excellently well these years. My sons call me eccentric. The servants that were once many, all of them retired in their growing fear of me. Only you, even now, serve me. That is more than I deserve. I doubt I have much time left to live. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. That fool Kraus squanders money like water, throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1. With that, he deludes himself to say he earned money, ever as a slave to money, thinking of me as a hen or whatnot, as if when I die she'll even use up my carcass to make broth. That dunce Rudolph wants to fool around with women. Rosa bore the baby of a nobody. Jessica's incompetent and illiterate. George has none of what it takes to be a man. Butler is a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushinomiya family. And Maria's obscene to the eye. Why? Why is the Ushinomiya blood so incompetent? Is there anyone worthy to inherit the glory I've built? Of course I know. This is Beatrice's curse, I know. Golden witches is supposed to be a revenge against me. Hate me if you wish. Run away if you wish. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. Won't you let you go? Won't let you go. You are mine. You cannot be anywhere but in my arms. You are my entire life. You'll continue to whisper for all eternity in my bear cage to me. Only to me. Beatrice, why won't you give me back your smile? Beatrice!
After howling, Kinso choked once again. Genji set the tray and the glass down and patted his master's back. Genji's face expressions did not change. It was always like this.
Thank you, my friend.
After his almost deranged outburst of the past few minutes settled down, Kinso regained its composure once more. The way his attitude changed was like seeing 2 different people, a wild Kinso and a composed Kinso, living together inside one body.
And so, I have decided I cannot stand spending this insipid remainder of my life procrastinating like this. If I have any final coins left to gamble, then I choose to abandon them all to the whims of the demons' roulette. The power of magic is always determined by the risk staked upon it, like visiting a shrine at the hour of the ox in ancient Japanese sorcery to nail a cursed doll to a tree. The magic power dwells in incurring the risk that it will be seen before 7 days pass. The more dangerous the risk, the stronger the magic power will be. All the various miracles that appear in myth can be called crystals of astonishing magic power obtained through miraculously low probabilities and astronomical risks. The Moses?
That Moses parted the sea was no miracle of God. It was that utterly desperate risk weighed upon the scales of oppression of being cornered by soldiers on the Red Sea shores, which give birth to miraculous magic power. Even if the same thing occurs again on the same scope, the sea will no doubt not part. That is because Moses managed to spectacularly draw out the single miracle card in the roulette of those in power, which has more pockets than Al-Sugi 1056 and Iota 1060 multiplied together. The power of triumph over astronomical odds. Yes, magical power is, in other words, having the luck to grasp miracles. To obtain great magical power, one must bear the risk that is hopelessly great. Those who possess no magic would call this not a bet, but pure desperation. However, those who truly do possess magical power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the enigma come into being. And if that power exists within me, I will seize that miracle. I won't be able to make the wish I devoted my life towards come true.
Okay, so my belief is that whatever tragedy is going to happen in this story is going to be orchestrated by him. All this talk about miracles, I feel like he wants to create a scenario that will quote-unquote force Beatrice to come out. Award-winning, thank you. Ginsu looked up at the sky outside the window. He spread his arms instead of appealing to someone up in the skies. Oh, here he goes again. I need water.
And if I were to have that, what it takes to obtain that miracle, Beatrice, show me your lovely smile once more. No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish. I just want to see your smile, that is all. I'll return everything you granted me. I'll return all the glory I've gained since that day. I don't need fortune, prestige, gold. I'll return everything you granted me. I just want to see your smile. I beg of you, Beatrice. Oh!
His nonsensical yell surged into a scream and then into a wail. Kinso crumbled onto the floor and clawed at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lament. I think he's doing just fine. Thank goodness, back to normal voices.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the head of the family is not in his best shape. He considers it a great shame that he would not be able to partake in lunch with you all, you having assembled especially for this long-awaited yearly meeting. Goda, let the lunch begin. Certainly. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we shall begin today's luncheon.
Dr. Nanjo, is father's condition that bad? Surely he could have at least shown his face.
Rather than his physical condition is his mood, and for that there is no medicine I can prescribe. Oh, come on, for God's sake, mood again? We come to hear how he's doing making time in our schedules in this damn busy season of autumn. That's just...
Ugh, that was not in the right voice, but I had to burp, and it was stuck in my throat.
Then you got what you wanted, Rudolph. You managed to hear how he's doing. Or do you want to take my place and try to persuade our ill-humored father to come join us? Are you kidding?
Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, even though Rudolph seemed to resent the way his father did whatever he pleased, he'd rather avoid seeing his face if he could help it. Does it seem like his mood will improve before dinner? Krasny-san?
I have no idea. You can try to ask father directly, although I think his mood will improve faster if we don't bother him.
The only one who can bring grandfather's temper under control is Genji-san. Pretty damn pathetic when you have to have a servant to deal with your own parents' bad mood.
Jessica, don't speak out of turn.
She planned for her compliment to be heard only by her cousins. complaint to be heard only by her cousins, but I reached even Krause's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away sulking. His condition can't be that bad, can it? With that kind of temper? I mean, if they were saying he's not feeling well, that'd be one thing, but if it's mooted, that's bad. At least it's proof he's got some fight in him. Well, grandfather does have especially strong willpower, but it doesn't mean that his body will always follow that. Since last year, they keep saying that he has 3 months left. If the initial diagnosis was correct, grandfather has been prolonging his life by willpower alone. We have to be concerned for him. Lunch started with the family's head seat still empty. The man who should have been sitting there was already old, and the brilliant glory which had rebuilt the Ushiromiya family in a single lifetime was slowly being forgotten. Nobody seemed to feel uncomfortable when the meal began with that seat still empty. But where does Nanjo sit? They prepared a seat for him too? New chapter? Okay, so it is October 4th still. 1330. October 4, 1330. The Ushiromiya family conference was held once every year. It took place on the first weekend of October. Okay. So that changes every year. The first weekend of October is different every year, I think. So it's just a coincidence that this time the conference was held on apparently a special day for Kinso. Either when I'm going to assume it's when he met Beatriz. If a normal family were to use a pretentious name like family conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other surrounded by buckets of sushi. However, in the Ushiromiya family, where the sons and siblings are lent great fortunes, and only those that achieve success in business are considered adults, it literally was a conference. How much of the fortune was invested? What kind of business was conducted? How much was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Or alternatively, how much would be borrowed for fortune business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seemed that topics like these had been discussed very seriously in the past. My dad called it a bed of nails. Apparently it used to be a very serious family meeting when one would commonly be showed with harsh and angry voices and even get slapped in the face despite being well past the age for it. However, that was a thing of the past. By now everyone had achieved success in their own independent business ventures, and it was on the road to becoming a normal yearly get-together. Even so, being asked by grandfather about the current state of play was an extremely stress-inducing event, and while to us grandchildren it was nothing more than a simple meeting, to our parents it was still a real stomachache. The absence of the man responsible for all this, whatever the reason behind it must surely have made today's lunch even more delicious. The phrase, "when the cat is away, the mice will play," comes to mind. Well then, let me introduce Jessica's father, whose face I haven't seen for 6 years. The man sitting to my dad's left is his older brother and the father of Jessica, Uncle... This name sure is easy to read. Kraus. After so many weird names, it warps your sense of what's normal and you start to think, hey, what's wrong with Kraus? Sounds pretty cool actually. Just like with Aunt Natsuki, I don't have many memories of speaking with Uncle Kraus. He had never been one to talk to children, and I felt like he was always talking with the adults, just like Aunt Natsuki. From the way my dad talked with him, it seemed that he used to be a pretty spiteful and unreasonable person. If what dad said is true, he said he used to be a very domineering as the oldest sibling, and was hated by Auntie Eva, Auntie Rosa, and the rest of the family. Odd, considering they're all having fun chatting together. Well, I guess even if their relationship was bad when they were children, sometimes when people grow up they go their separate ways, their relationship changes. That's probably what it is. After all, they all have their children of their own. They all have children of about the same age. Since they share similar family environments, they probably all profit by exchanging opinions. Maybe because of that, the parent circle has been deep in conversation for a while now about the exams Jessica and I are going to be taking. Jessica, in order to escape the discussion of exams with the old bastard sitting on her left, was purposefully facing to the right, firing off topic after topic so as to not give him an opening. Moving on, let's look at the end opposite from Uncle Kraus and the others. In the very last seat at the table, an old gentleman with a sturdy physique sat facing Kairi-san. This was my first time meeting him. I had only just been introduced to him, but it seemed that his grandfather's personal doctor, a man called Nanjo. Apparently he used to own a huge clinic on the nearby Nijima Island, but he turned it over to his son and then began living a life of leisure in his old age. He's known grandfather since the very beginning, when the mansion was first constructed on this island, and they have history going back several decades. I thought he might be grandfather's companion in his suspicious hobbies, but surprisingly, it seems that he's grandfather's chess partner. I see. That kind of hobby does seem very like our grandfather, with his love of Western style. You could probably also call him the only person able to enter Rokenjima who is neither family member nor a servant. From listening in on his conversation with the woman folk seated near him, he gave the impression of a calm old gentleman. Considering he managed to put up with our short-tempered grandfather for so long, I'm sure his big heart is nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he still is his doctor, having someone from outside the Ushiramiya family attending the family conference is a little odd. From the fact I imagine the grandfather's condition has grown even much worse. And it may even be one of the major topics of discussion at the family conference. George Ariki was just saying it too. For the past year, grandfather has been continuously pronounced as having very little time left to live. It's awful to talk about, but grandfather is an extremely rich man. At the time of his death, his will will suddenly be released along with our parents' stomach acid, surely leading to some serious ulcers. With this kind of thing, the greater the number of ways it must be split, the more trouble will be caused splitting it. This kind of talk would probably also be included in the family conference. Oh well, it's not like it has anything to do with us children. Finally, even though he's absent, let me introduce our grandfather. The person who should be sitting at that seat of honor is Ushiramiya Kinso. It really sucks. He gave everyone else in the family these weird names, but he himself uses one which is conservative as all hell. If only his name were written with those same characters for gold and vaults, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something. That'd be totally awesome. As you can probably gather from all the talk about him, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. Because I'm just his grandkid, we haven't met him since I was in elementary school 6 years ago. I don't remember even ever having been beaten by him, but it seemed that our parents were raised with an iron fist. That earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Kraus about who should go try to convince grandfather to come out seems oddly funny if you take this into account. In order to tell grandfather's story, you have to take yourself all the way back to, yes, all the way back to 1926 to 1989, before the Showa era, to recount the tale of the Ushiramiya family. Alright, that's some dates I gotta write down. 1926 to 1989. Kinso's era, birth of the family. Onto the Meiji and Taisho eras, 1868, 1912, 1912, 1926. Wait a sec. 1926. '68, 1912 to 1912, 1926. Family was prosperous. Okay. Wait a sec. Okay, I'm back. Onto the Meiji and Taisho eras, the Ushiramiya family were great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills and were very wealthy people who merely had to fall about laughing while the money rolled in. Incidentally, grandfather was a member of a branch family originally had nothing to do with the main family. Distantly separated from the head's inheritance, he apparently had very little involvement with that head house. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushirimiya main family in Odawara was flattened. 1923 earthquake destroyed manor. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire, and the Ushirimiya family lost most of its wealth and family members in an instant. Wow, okay, that's not natural. Mills burned, family died. It then became a matter of who would become the heir to the main family, and as it turned out, none were left except for Kinso, who was as far removed from the main family line as they come. Kinso himself later said that it was such good luck, it was as though fate itself had been turned upside down. With that, grandfather's ordinary life that did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the wealth that the dying Ushirimiya family had almost completely lost. Of course, just because you suddenly dump a task on someone doesn't mean they can do squat to accomplish it. I doubt the people around him were expecting much. But this is where grandfather began to display the extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of the family funds and everything from the hair on his hair to his toenails as collateral to borrow a massive amount of money, created a gigantic supply of funds, and immediately started a business. It was like tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping onto a neighboring bike and then another one, just like some crazy street performance. Probably anyone would have thought that grandfather had no business ability. But with an unbelievable amount of good luck and miracles, with coincidence piling up at every chance taken advantage of, before anyone knew it, he had forged powerful connections with the Allied forces. At that time, MacArthur and the GHQ were in charge of Japan. My grandfather is in the twinkle of an eye, began succeeding in business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. At this point, it was no longer luck but information that won the day. He must have made some seriously thick connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew about the emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War before they happened. No more than that, he must have foreseen these typical procurements and started penetrating those markets from the very beginning. History textbooks say that all of Japan made a large profit off the emergency demands for the Korean War, but that wasn't the case in reality. Only a very limited number of the super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, grandfather was an extremely lucky member of this group of winners. This all happened during the year 1950, Showa 25, I think. Okay, 1950. Started reviving the family. And since the year of the Great Kanto earthquake was 1923, Taisho 12. That's true. Yeah. That means grandfather was able to revive the near-dead Ushirimiya family to a level even greater than it had been before in a span of only 20 to 30 years. With that, you'd think that he would revive the main family in Odawara, but for some reason he went and did something as crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something that you can ordinarily do today. However, grandfather was clever. He contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as a business property and then reigned on it and claimed it as his own plot of land. Okay, so obviously we know that everything happened because of Beatriz. Meaning that Beatriz also made him buy this island because that's her island. Okay. The thing is, what is her motives? What is she trying to gain from all this? Is she just trolling? Is that it? Just wants to have a little fun? I wonder. After the war, there were prevention measures against food shortages, and furthermore, he had the sponsorship of the GHQ, which meant that nobody would oppose him. It seemed that Tokyo provided the land for next to no money at the time. Tokyo later made repeated complaints for the land to be returned, but not much could be done due to the involvement of the GHQ, even though they've been pushed to it. Ruby... he knows something. Like, that's gonna be the main question, right? It's always... motives is always the main question. What other thing... right, I'm playing Elden Ring, and with Elden Ring I'm still... there's a character that I just want to know the motives of. Motives are always the most hidden thing ever. Like, what does she gain? Like, power, I suppose. Because we're literally saying right now that Kinso has government connections. Maybe that's what Beatriz wants. I don't know. I don't think it's something evil. I don't think it's something evil or grand. I think it's gonna be... I think what this game is going to do, the biggest gut punch that this game is going to give us, is we're gonna go through so much hell in this game. A bunch of things are gonna happen. We're gonna be destroyed, and then we're only to find out that Beatriz only did it for some silly reason. Not exactly trolling. I don't think it's because of trolling or just having fun. I think it's gonna be something even sillier, like she only wanted to have a family or some such, or wanted to see what it was to live a normal life or something silly like that. Is like something that is almost sweet, something that is almost kind-hearted, that just makes you feel even more destroyed that you had to suffer so much just for something like that. That's my out there theory. I don't think it's something grand. I don't think it's taking over the world or some such. No. I think it's something small. No doubt he bribed everyone there. What? No doubt he bribed everyone there was to bribe. What? What does that mean? No doubt he'd bribed everyone there. Oh! Okay, I was like... okay, now that's a weird... no doubt he'd bribed everyone there was to bribe. There you go. I was reading that there was weirdly and it confused me. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather was with considerable skill and blessed with good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune of his own island. Of course, it wasn't all luck. He was skilled with English, and this was cultivated by his Western obsession. It was by using that as a weapon that he was able to make inroads with the GHQ. A mansion was immediately built on the island. That would be his mansion. Grandfather, who had always loved the West and made this once uninhabited island Rokkenjima a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. Okay, genuine question. I'm not good with my geography. Well, I am good with my geography. It's just that I'm not good with terms, I suppose. When I hear the West, I think of the States of America. But for Japanese people, does the West mean Europe? Or does it also mean America? Because to me, I cannot say these manors and mansions make me think of America. They make me think of, England. And I think the way... all their names are not American, they're European. Kraus is German, right? So I think I've been confused when they said the West. That is a question I wish answered if anyone knows. But I'm going to assume they mean Europe when they say the West. Once uninhabited island, Rokkenjima, a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. The Western mentioned that he had always imagined overflowing with emotion, the beautiful garden where various roses had been planted. I believe it refers to both EU and US from a Japanese perspective in this case. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes sense, because if it was just America, the US, I was a bit confused. But if it's both, then I comprehend. Because Jessica, I'm not sure if Jessica's a European name. Rosa is. Anyway, so much thinking. What did I do? What did I do? I pressed the A key. What did that do? The Western mentioned that he had always imagined, overflowing with emotion, the beautiful garden where various roses had been planted. Yo, Jules woke up. Good morning, Jules. And a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to live for a footprint. To have this much would be every man's dream. After that, making good use of his huge fortune, he became a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person normally gets portrayed after the fact as having the ability to foresee and predict the future or something, but grandfather denies all of that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that, with all of his dreams made real, can't help but grow increasingly odd when locked up alone on an island. Everyone knows he's been obsessed with the West for a very long time, but none of our parents really knows when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Perhaps his love of black magic began way back when he became fascinated with the West, or possibly his miraculous strength of good luck which allowed him to revive the family caused him to feel a mysterious power in himself. At some point, grandfather began to make the research of black magic in his life's work, filling his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre. These being the few remaining years of a person successful in life, those around him warmly watched over him, feeling that time was his to spend as he pleased, or so I hear, but no way in hell that's true. They probably were just driven away thinking that that's disturbing, I don't want to get involved. Well, that war-torn period was a time for big gambles with both opponents and with both opportunities and risks. I like to see grandfather do so well if he'd been born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities, and would have probably have been advanced like a chess piece from mandatory education to college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average company employee. If that had happened, he'd probably be sitting here with the rest of us, regaling us with tales of his shitty boss. No, not here, in the dining hall of a mansion. We might have been around on a table at some bar. If that were the case, I'm sure that this would have been a more comfortable family conference. Alright, that's enough talk about the old geezer who won't pop off. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch! What a segue. Okay, very good backstory. I like that a lot, especially with the war being involved. I don't think I have much thoughts on that right now. There's not much to think about, I don't think. Not that I can see with the naked eye right now. It's just obviously Beatriz helped them since back then. Yeah, I got nothing. Good backstory. I was already sold by the sashimi salad. Koda-san, this is one hell of a chef. Plus, these fish were caught in the oceans near here, weren't they? This sashimi you get at the supermarket don't even come close.
Hey, quit it, Butler. Your upbringing will be exposed.
Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love these cheap pubs. My job occasionally leads me to eat at some quite interesting places, but even compared to those, this is an excellent dish. I imagine you could have become reasonably well known in that field, Koda-san. I don't know too much about it, but this famous hotel where he used to work, employee politics got pretty complicated and everyone split into factions. In the middle of all that, he was apparently forced to retire, and it just so happened that Mom had job offers for a servant out in the same time. As Goda cleared away the empty plates, he began to recount his own eventful past, never losing the smile.
That would be a difficult place. However, it is thanks to this that I was given a chance to display my skills as a chef once again, this time for the Ushinomiya family. Although I also enjoyed the smiles of a larger number of people, it is also extremely entertaining to be able to perform delicate work in order to please solely the limited number of people I have pledged to serve. All of this is thanks to the opportunities given to me by Madame.
Goda-san respectfully bowed his head towards Aunt Natsu. That is because among all of the applicants, you were the most talented. The decision was not based on personal feelings, but purely objective, so there is no need to thank me. Oh man, with this Aunt Natsu, you always have to speak so frankly. If only she spoke more gently, she might have give off a different impression. Alright, let me check if there's any character bios that I missed. Aha! Oh, this was Nanjo. Okay, so we have everyone here. So Beatriz is not here at all. I thought this was gonna be Beatriz's spot. Beatriz is above, where we can't see her. But still, it cannot be denied that these two are identical to Beatriz. So there's something going on. Something going on. Live Nanjo reaction. I'm thinking right now. Wait, what's going on with her? Okay, so she has she has a leg window on her skirt, and she has the crest tattooed on her, and it's on the left. I didn't notice that before. Okay. Weird. All kinds of things going through my head. Alright. Nanjo Terumasa, Kinzo's attending physician and longtime friend, once ran a hospital at Nijima but turned it over to his son, and now enjoys his old life in peace. One of the very few people that Kinzo trusts, now that he is held captive by an unrelenting suspicion of others. Big-hearted by nature, he has maintained a long friendship with Kinzo, unperturbed by his tendency to fly into a rage at the slightest provocation. Okay, one more thing is that only one character has had a long enough bio to have to scroll down. Who was it? Hideyoshi? Of all people? Oh. Odd. Oh, and Kraus now. Man, why did you have to be ugly? I'm so sad. Ushiromiya Kraus, Kinzo's first child, leads the family conference as the eldest of the 4 siblings. However, the other siblings suspect that he plans to claim the entire family fortune for himself, and the antagonism between him and the other grows increasingly severe. A real estate investor, he has put a vast amount of money into the development of a resort. However, his results have been harshly criticized. So that's everyone, except Beatriz, of course. So there were a lot more characters in the opening. So, I don't know how... Interesting. Very interesting. If only she spoke more gently, she might give off a different impression. Shannon-chan Kumasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving cart. Please excuse us.
Now let us move on to today's desserts.
Koda-san and the others laid out the beautifully adorned dessert. I guess it's true when they say that you have another stomach for desserts. I thought that being fed all that delicious food had totally filled me up. But as soon as I laid eyes on that dessert, my stomach started yelling more! I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce, and elegant rose petals adorned the dish. When you dine on such magnificent food like this, first it is distributed in front of everybody, and then the chef takes a moment to extol the virtues of his creation. I'm so hungry. How hungry? Until he has finished, as a rule, you don't touch the food. However, Maria, who had no experience with these ceremonious rules, got excited by this beautiful and delicious-looking dessert and jumped into the fray as soon as it was placed before her. Auntie Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, now, it's alright. This one's sour. Butler, the wrong one is this one. Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces. What? There's a right one and a wrong one? Alright, I'll give it a go. Apparently the 2 sauces were one sweet and one sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger in it and licked it. What is wrong with y'all? She's a little girl. She has an excuse. You're a... Nah, you can't be doing that, man. Whoa, one of them was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us. Shannon-chan, what kind of sauce is this sour stuff? Shannon-chan hesitated to speak. Maybe she's just setting the table and doesn't really know. They're poisoning us, dude. They're This is, oh my god, this is the scenario I was talking about that Kinso would create to bring Beatriz out from hiding. The emojis. I enjoy how late that message came after the "I'm so hungry" because I hope you spent that whole time just looking for the emojis. Maybe she was just setting the table and doesn't really know. She's hesitating a bit much for that though. Did I ask something wrong? Or did they use something that might be better off not knowing about? While Aunt Natsui acted as though she had a headache, Kumasawa-san, who was sitting the other side of the table, began to laugh with a What do you think we made it out of? It'll shock you. Huh? I don't have a clue. And Kumasawa-san, that laugh creeps me out. So, what is it? Don't tell anyone, alright? Let me borrow your ears. Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. She asked to borrow my ears, so I leaned forward too. Their interest caught Jessica, George, Aniki, and of course Maria, who also put their ears together. What? What? Tell me. The sour part is, well, actually, it's squeezed juice from a mackerel. That sounds awesome. Oh, I would love to try that. What? Don't be ridiculous, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it on with a Mackerels are sour. If you squeeze them, this comes out. When Maria started clamoring the mackerel were sour, the adults were unable to contain their laughter. You've got it wrong. That's vinegared mackerel. Auntie Rosa said to Maria in a small voice while turning red. Oh, I really thought it was a squeezed mackerel. And I remember it perfectly. Okay, now it's less interesting. Kumasawa-san was always this kind of character, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me, thinking all kinds of things when I was young as well. Amongst all of them, the most painful must have been that one. That flimsy black stuff you get in Chinese food. Kikurage mushrooms. She told me it was penguin meat, and I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Kumasawa-chan, you sure haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe that now, right? Oh, it's just a joke. Goda-san will tell you that the sauce in it is just a moment. Goda-san looked a little put out from having this masterpiece laughed at in such a strange way. But after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us. This guy's gonna kill someone. I don't trust Goda. Goda is the most evil one so far.
Well, allow me to describe today's dessert. Based on the rose gardens that everyone seemed to enjoy so much today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. This rose petals scattered across were selected just now from the rose garden. From the sauces I prepared two different reds for you, strawberry and rosehip. Please enjoy the strawberry sweetness and the rosehip sourness in turn.
So it wasn't mackerel at all? Bruh!
Finally, the rose petals are merely decoration, so please set them aside before eating. With that said, please enjoy.
Man, I always want to applaud before I even eaten it. It's like when you take medicine, you know how it seems to work better than you've read the instructions. Thanks to Goda-san elaborating on the details of the dessert, I feel like he's knocked it up another notch. Seriously, should you call him miraculous or just talented? The dessert was probably... Hold on. I'm overthinking, as always. But it's just very interesting choice of words. With the whole Kinso thing, that's also, everyone is thinking, is it a miracle that he could make such a fortune, or was he just really that skilled, right? So it's just... We know that it was neither. It was because of Beatriz, so perhaps this chef here is neither miraculous or talented, but perhaps he too has something to do with Beatriz. Think about that. The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but he took a cue from our stopping in front of the rose garden earlier today, and displayed an incredibly timely awareness of the season by just adding a few rose petals from the garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you get used to it and become bored halfway through, but by bringing in the sour sauce at that point, you get a really vivid taste. And then once you return to the sweet sauce, all of the sourness in your mouth is replaced with enjoyable sweetness again. I'm so hungry. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goda-san passed by one of the seats, someone praised the taste in his creation. Please, hurry up on this. I'm just getting more hungry by the minute.
How is it, madame?
Splendid as always. It is a worthy treat for our guests.
I am most grateful for your words.
Madame, did you know? I have heard that roast hip has the ability to cure headaches. I thought that you especially would appreciate it, so I had it especially prepared. Is that so? Thank you. See, didn't I tell you not to, Nissan? Roast hip works on headaches. So it seems. I can only hope it has some effect. This guy has barely had any screen time. This guy's gonna die first.
Goda-san, I love ya. Hey, later whisper me how much compensation you're getting for this, won't ya? If you're sworn to silence, you can stick up some figures instead. Let me know your price. Having your talent monopolized by this small island is a sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. Wouldn't you be willing to display your talent to all the customers at my company,
Crap, what was it again? Alright, so... Trap.
Hideyoshi-san, are you trying to recruit our Goda? How troubling. We had better make some improvements to his salary or he'll get snatched away.
Yes, you really should. If you don't, you'll be lured away and you'll be stuck with 3 meals a day of Kubasawa-style macro cooking, won't you? Oh, that is indeed harsh. It seems someone's holding a grudge. What a sweet and kind family. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kubasawa-san's macro jokes were a type of running regale, and our parents had since gotten used to it. Another funny thing is that this literally is the calm before the storm, because we know a typhoon is coming, right? It's like very on the nose. Kubasawa-san often claimed that mackerel contained precious nutrients that could do things such as prevent aging and make people smarter. It seemed that while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent aging on the inside. Since she was still healthy enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, the benefit must be the real thing. Oh, well then, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. Cinema. Bravo, Ryokishi. Prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you to eat, so look forward to it.
We sure will. I want to treat myself to some vinegared mackerel tonight.
That sounds wonderful. I wonder if any delicate Japanese sake will be included. Oh, it certainly will. How about some of our famous Rokkenjiman mackerel liquor? I'm so scared. Because I genuinely don't know if this is the type of game where people are gonna die or not. So the first death is going to hit me like a truck if people die. If not, then I'm just gonna be on my edge of my seat the whole time waiting for a death that will never come. Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. Amusingly, Goda-san, who looked just as though his stock had been stolen from him, explained very seriously that tonight's dinner would actually be calf steak. Kumasawa-san, thank you for doing that back there. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply. Oh, I haven't done anything that requires things. Kumasawa played dumb, but it was no accident that she had thrown Shannon a lifeline. Back then, Butler had asked for the details of... I forgot this third person now. Back then, Butler had asked for the details of the desserts. Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them should have been delivered deftly. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Shannon, like Goda, had a little more of the craftiness needed to skillfully shake off a mistake, her days would be a little more comfortable. The weakness was especially unfortunate considering how flawlessly she could handle her work. Of course, there were those who well understood Shannon's meek nature and her inability to remember to gloss over her mistakes. Which is why Kuwasawa came to her aid without hesitation. I just heard from Genji-san that there have been a change in the afternoon shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. Oh, I am jealous. I'm sorry, I haven't checked that list of shifts yet. Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I would be happy if you would help out a bit before your break. Yes, I would be delighted to help. To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. We're nearing the 2-hour mark of the stream, so when this chapter ends, it shall be farewell for another week. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, a tea would be served in the parlor. It seemed that they would be preparing the black tea that Auntie Rosa had brought for Aunt Natsu. Maria insisted that she also wanted to drink the black tea, but was rejected by the old master, who told her that the rest of us kids had to go play outside. Butler couldn't wait till we'll go for a walk outside. Ruby.
Go look at the roses or something, but keep a close eye on the weather. The sky is still clear, but the weather's report keep on talking about rain.
I want the beach. Want the beach. Ah, isn't that a wonderful idea? Playing on a sandy beach isn't something that you get to do often, is it? I guess not. Alright, let's all go to the sandy beach then. Let's go. Maria, be careful not to get your clothes wet. Your shoes, too. It's kinda hard to do, ain't it? Won't get wet. So obedient and cute. Butler-kun, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria-chan, okay? Sure thing, leave it to me.
Oh, you're pretty cute and obedient too when Kairi asks you to do something, huh? Why don't you try listening to me obediently for a change?
Ha! Hell no. Let's go, everyone, come on! The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who pushed a serving cart in and prepared the black tea. The parlor was filled with a sublime aroma, which entertained everyone while they waited to appease their thirst.
Rudolph, you and your family all seem to get along so well with each other. Good for you. Oh, please, you have us beat on that front.
So true. Jessica-chan really has grown into an innocent little thing, hasn't she? It's all the fruit of your training, isn't it, Natsui-san? Thank you. Natsui answered coldly. With that, the conversation halted and the parlor became silent. Possibly because he couldn't stand it anymore, Hideyoshi broke the silence while performing an exaggerated gesture.
Still, they sure do grow fast. I thought they'd be kids forever, but they've been getting huge right before my eyes, and before I knew it, they've joined the ranks of us adults. Butler-kun for one is beyond recognition.
His body has grown much bigger, but he is still a child. Well, my husband is still a child as well. I wonder where the border between child and adult is. I still don't feel as though I've grown up.
Isn't that pitiful? There's not something the mother of a child should say.
That's right. We're not children anymore. We are all adults. So I would like it if we could all hold an intellectual conversation without becoming emotional. When Neva smiled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt like the smell of a tea that had been prepared so carefully just flew out the window.
We have always strived to hold intellectual conversations. Your sarcasm is ill-placed sometimes. You've never changed in that respect.
Always strived, is it? My. I wish I could grab those words up and send them into this room a few decades ago. Right, Rosa? Rosa smiled with a vague expression. Whether she agreed or disagreed, she knew that she would earn the displeasure of either her brother or her sister. It was a bit of worldly wisdom she had needed to learn as the youngest sibling.
Quit it, Aneki. We should enter into the main topic while the brats aren't around, right? Let us make our intellectual discussion.
As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh, and some let a small look of resignation across their face. This was the unavoidable, true agenda. Oh, thank goodness! I thought they were gonna cut away. I want to hear this.
Last year, his life expectancy was estimated at about 3 months, which means he's already at -9. The Grim Reaper could come flying through the window in a blind panic at any moment.
The family head is still in good health. Raising such an inappropriate topic while the sun is still bright, I must question whether you are in your right mind, Rudolph-san.
Still, Natsui-san, if we don't discuss this until something happens, it'll be too late. He's still healthy now, so we gotta figure out something while we still have some time left over. It's a kind of financial etiquette. It seems as though everyone is concerned about Father, Dr. Nanjo. Could we hear the details from you? It seems as though they are also hoping for that.
Nanjo, standing by the window and staring out to the rose garden, let out a single cough when he realized he was being called. Dr. Nanjo, how is father's condition?
Well, first, my estimate last year that he had only 3 months to live still appears to be making his presence felt, so allow me to start by correcting it.
No need to explain. You've saying that measuring remaining life is only a prediction. What a promise, right?
That is correct. Because of that, I can offer no definitive answer to the question you all so often ask me of when he will pass away.
Wait, that's not his one.
A human's life is supported by their...
No, crap, what was this one?
A human life is supported by their body and their mind.
Oh, I lost it.
If the body is weak, the situation becomes more dangerous. But if the mind is strong enough to compensate for the weakness, it is possible to maintain a state of remission.
So you're saying that even if his body is weak, his mind is still firm and spirited?
Kairi, sorry, but please stay quiet for a while. You're not blood related.
That's really that's what it really is, isn't it? Sorry.
That is correct. Kenzo-san's body has been ravaged by the seas. With him continuing to partake of that kind of strong liquor on top of it all, I really must think.
I mean, it's like those people, like that one lady who lived to like 101 just by drinking Pepsi every day. Sometimes life is cruel like that.
So booze is the reason he's tittering on the edge. And booze is also the reason he's hanging on. Sounds like Dad, the heavy drinker.
Well then, Doctor, I know you can't give anything more than a prediction. But what do you think about Father's chances of living until this day next year? That is quite the rude question to ask about the dead, about the head. About the dead, oh. That's when we jumped on Eva, unable to hide her astonished expression. In response, Eva returned a defiant look, but Hideyoshi noticed and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile.
Natsui-san, forgive her. Eva, try to choose your words a bit more carefully, okay?
I'm sorry, I was just so concerned about Father's condition. Is that so? I hadn't realized.
Dr. Nanjo, please tell us. For the sake of the beautiful family love of... For the sake of the beautiful family love of a daughter worried about her father's lifespan.
Kraus laughed sarcastically and Eva smiled sweetly, returning an identical chuckle.
You ask whether he will still be healthy next year.
But that is a very difficult question for me as a doctor. Well, I do understand the remission will last for a while yet. If he suffers some kind of fit, there may be nothing we can do. After all, Rokinjima is a solitary island. It is not as though an ambulance can come rushing in to save him. Normally, I would want to have him hospitalized at a large hospital on the mainland, but... Father stated that he does not want his noble research interrupted. It seems he holds a grudge over the way we tried to force him out last year. Apparently, he strongly suspects that he'll be shut away in some hospital if he goes outside. And that's how things are now.
Has Dr. Nanjo been examining him?
Father trusts Dr. Nanjo. It seems he can be examined when in a good mood.
Going to sneeze momentarily.
I can examine his condition, but if I try to recommend medicine or hospitalization, he refuses to listen. I've already only been able to look.
It's true that there are people that hate doctors. Still, what a hassle.
Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination was to determine what medical treatment was appropriate. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given made the whole thing pointless.
Then, in summary, his expected life is still 3 months, and there's no way to guess how long he will continue to live while still on the verge of death.
Rudolph-san, couldn't you be more discreet with your words?
Sorry. I always talk this way. Cut me a break.
I understand Dr. Nanjo's opinion. What do you think, Krasny-san?
To be perfectly honest, I have to disagree with Dr. Nanjo. I find it really difficult to think of Father as a person so sick that he has only 3 months left to live. His yell is as healthy as ever, and I still get the chills at the thought of his fist raining down on me. Pushing the task of caring for Dad solely on the shoulders of the other son is far from fair. In the next world, be born after me. Alright, let's return to our discussion. In that case, according to the impartial and neutral doctor's opinion, it would be odd for him to go any time. Sorry, Aniki, but I'd rather trust the opinion of a specialist. With that, I believe the discussion of Dad's fortune is no longer a premature topic.
Father's personal funds probably reach into those tens of billions of yen, right? But it's not as though all of that is neatly gathered as ready cash. It's not as simple as neatly cutting a birthday cake with a knife.
Interesting metaphor, Aniki. That's right. Sometimes strawberries or chocolates are placed on top of the cake, making it hard to cleanly divide it into equal parts. Taking that into consideration, I think it's important to first discuss how best to stick the knife in, don't you?
I truly don't understand you all. Even while the head is still alive, you're discussing the matter in loud voices, as though he was already dead. Come now, don't you see how important this is? After all, when the time comes, the inheritance of his fortune must be carried out immediately, right? Moreover, the wealth of the glorious Ushiramiya house is vast. Don't you understand that a careful discussion is necessary beforehand? There's a huge difference between the assets of this family and your old one. How rude! The family I was born to has nothing to do with this. As Natsui resentfully responded in a low voice, the already dark atmosphere grew even more hostile.
Give it a rest, Emma. Natsui-san, forgive us. Parlor her rudeness.
Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing at both a forced smile, but it only resulted in making the hostility between Eva and Natsui even more tense.
It seems that I would just be in the way if I stay any longer. Please excuse me.
Nanjo rose from his seat and exited the parlor. This may well have been a normal act of courtesy expected from an outsider, but even so, his back was watched as by several glances envious of his ability to escape. As the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Kraus recrossed his legs.
So let me see if I understand your point of view correctly. My father's remaining life is short. You want to quickly enter into a practical conference concerning the distribution of the inheritance? Why are you so eager, I wonder? Certainly, as you say, estimating and distributing the Ushiramiya family's wealth is no simple task. In that case, shouldn't we carefully and deliberately calculate? It seems to me that you are all impatient to split up the cake tonight. That's true, isn't it, Rosa? Is something making you impatient?
It's not that we're impatient, but the decision between siblings is essential. It doesn't matter when, but the father's condition is worsening and the day is drawing near. Discussing the matter beforehand isn't what I would call impatience. Rosa shaked a glance at Eva and Rudolph. As the youngest daughter in the family, being cross-examined by the elders was harsh.
Oh? Is that your true opinion? I didn't expect that the most honest and pure-hearted of the siblings would say something like that. I wonder if those two told you to say that. Quit it, Aniki. Rosa is a sibling just like the rest of us. She has a fair right to Dad's inheritance. It's obvious she would be interested, right? After all, Dad will definitely die, and that's not something that will happen in the distant future. On the contrary, Aniki, you are far too relaxed. It seems almost as though you would like nothing better than to turn the discussion away from the distribution of the inheritance.
What do you mean by that? Are you trying to accuse my husband of something?
Calm down, Natsui-san. Listen to what we have to say.
Nissan, I hear there are very good times nowadays. That's right, since last year, the yen has been going up and up thanks to the unprecedented boon and prosperity. It seems that it's no longer a dream that the dollar will reach 100 yen. Also, the ruling party says that it will establish a health resort maintenance law by next year. At this moment, resort development companies across Japan are running around trying to gather as much capital as they can.
You know your stuff. Japan will see an unprecedented boom, just like when father revived the Ushirimiya family. Another case like the Korean War demands. The people of Japan have worked at a frenzied pace, realizing vast economic growth, and become the most prosperous people in the world. They are enjoying the height of their prosperity. Private spending has increased, and institutions that can profit from that can make easy money in this era. The people's needs are no longer merely the essential 3 electrical appliances. Places to ski, to golf, public pools, resort hotels, and theme parks. Have you gone to Disneyland, which opened just a few years ago? What an excellent theme park that is! In that place, even an adult can be a kid and have fun with his family. The old era where the only virtue was to selfishly devote yourself to your country while failing to consider your family is ending. Now, as the most prosperous people in the world, we can finally accept that. Rouse, Nissan, your foresight is something else. Well, when I heard this several years ago, I thought it was ridiculous. But see, when I heard about the G5 Nations Plaza Accord, it changed. What, lad? The yen's getting stronger and stronger, and the price of land will skyrocket soon, I bet. The day that Japan becomes the economic center of the world isn't far off. You are a very forward-looking view. There's no mistake in that, at least. I feel the same as Hideyoshi-san. Aniki, you can read into the next decade of history. That keen sense surely came from Dad. Okay, so clearly we are being led to believe here that Kraus also has this power of Beatrice. But supposedly George also has it, but that could just be coincidence. George is mostly just being able to read minds, apparently. Anyways, so far the most concise proof, the closest thing to someone else having a contract with Beatrice seems to be Kraus, with this whole speech he just gave. It's incredible. However, unlike Dad, there have been cases where the timing of your predictions have been mistaken, haven't there?
Oh? Maybe not. Nissan, believing that Japan will definitely face an economic boom, you have been launching resorts projects everywhere, and almost all of them will continue to fail. While I'm sure that the era you predicted is arriving, it seems that you misread the timing of the boom. Okay, hold on. So, maybe he doesn't have anything to do with Beatrice. It's just that he wants to be like his father. So he wants to hit it big by trying to predict things like his father. But he's failing because he sucks. And he doesn't have Beatrice. You were too early. And then you hurriedly tried to sell everything off, and as a result opened the wound even further. If your nose was really so reliable and you predicted the coming of a boom, then there should be no reason for you to sell off your property. Isn't that proof that you don't trust your own ability? Bro sucks. How rude! Are you trying to insult my husband? I don't like this lady. This lady is a bit strange. Natsumi forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Eva, paying this no heed, stared at Kraus with a confident smile. Kraus, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsumi to sit down.
Please stop, Natsumi. My little sister is incapable of speaking any other way and always has been. Calm yourself a little. Your headaches will get worse.
Prove that you have no talent is also right here. After all, Nissan, weren't you all excited about turning this island into a resort? Building a wonderful resort hotel, beautifully maintaining the garden. I'm just an amateur and don't pretend to understand, but you must have used a significant amount of money, right? What are you trying to say? My husband's business has nothing to do with you.
Actually, that's not true, Natsumi-san. Brokenjima is not Aniki's. It is Dad's. The hotel that was constructed is Aniki's, of course. If you like, you can charge us lodging fees tonight. Right, Rosa?
Well, even if what I have on hand will suffice.
If I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise. It is true that expenses have piled up, but we can hope to have a large harvest in the future. When that happens, it should prove to be beneficial to all of you as well.
I understand that. If the value of this island rises, that will increase our shares when we distribute the inheritance. Of course, we won't ask you to physically divide the island and the mansion into 4 equal parts. We're quite happy to settle this with whatever you can calculate its financial worth to be.
If you understand that much, what about my business makes you so dissatisfied? We are dissatisfied. We're uneasy. In the first place, Aniki, when do you plan to open that hotel? Keep this up, and every square inch of it will be covered in our grubby handprints.
That's right. It is an important tool for your business, isn't it? I understand that you can keep it locked up until the moment you open up for business. Buildings go bad if you don't use them and air them out every once in a while. Even so, it's a bit extravagant for a guest house that we only use once a year. Wouldn't you say so, Rosa? That's right. If it's that wonderful, I'm sure that it will become quite popular once you open it. Oh. The hotel you mentioned earlier was referring to the guest house, I see.
Hell of a building, isn't it? Just as Rosa said, I'm sure it would become popular if he were to open it.
I'm thinking right now. I'm trying to see what I can make of this conversation. I got some things, but I need more information. It was originally reconstructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it had been completed 2 years ago, there was absolutely no schedule for it to be open. Nissan, it's just like all of your enterprises. Your retention and planning are both fabulous. Then it always becomes unable to maintain itself part way and ends without being able to collect any profit. I'm thinking again. I just wonder if it has to be, right? If it's trying to say anything about Beatriz. Like, she's who knows how old, right? She has had to have made many, many contracts with many people. So maybe just like Krause's enterprises, Beatriz's contracts always find a way to fail. But perhaps the contract with Kinso here will be the first contract that finally reaches its conclusion and she gets what she wants.
It was brilliant of you to spot that it was a waste to use this island only as a place to live. I think that turning it into a resort which could use things like marine sports, fishing, or honeymoon to attract customers was a pretty good plan. If I were the oldest son, I'm sure I would have racked my brains over what kind of profit I could get out of this island.
But 2 full years have passed since you finished the building, right? After 2 years, you still don't know when you'll be able to open it? Where is the managing company you entrusted it to? In penitence, that is not my husband's fault. There has been some trouble with the company that my husband contracted with. No matter how you look at it, we are victims here. Contract? Contract, huh? I'm not saying that it's the contract with Beatriz. I'm just saying that it's very suspicious. There's some connections here, some symbolism.
That's the thing, though. This company that Kraus Nissan hired, I haven't heard any good rumors about it, you know.
Let's not beat around the bush. The project disintegrated midway due to non-payment, embezzlement, and other troubles. Do you think the rumors wouldn't reach our ears? I've been collecting evidence. I don't know what kind of evidence you found, but it's all baseless. As new members in the sightseeing business, it is necessary to lay the groundwork with various people. It is also important to discuss how trustworthy the other party is. This is nothing more than taking some time to meet that end.
Except that in my rashness, the hotel was completed too early. However, we are not paying maintenance costs. It is a slow and vital strategic arrangement. Yeah, I bet. More like you want to sell it but can't. There's no reason for anyone to buy such an extravagant hotel on an isolated island with nothing on it and no established sightseeing routes. Besides, what's happening with the loans you gathered for this project?
Am I not really costing you maintenance, but the borrowed money you can return is just going up and up. Sorry, Kraus Nissan. I investigated the development plan for this island a little. I gotta be honest, I've not heard anything good either. Hideyoshi-san, I'm sure that only looking at the current financial condition could lead you to that impression. However, that is a prior investment. I have no choice but to admit that my prediction was mistaken and that up until now several liabilities have been created. However, the times have finally caught up with me. I will soon regain everything that I have lost up to this point. No, actually, all of the investments I have made until now will finally return to my possession. That is right, just like throwing away a small fry which then becomes a salmon, they will come back even bigger than before. Sure, I'm with you on that. Starting soon, the resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom, though who knows whether there will be enough to bury all of your liabilities. But I gotta ask, Kraus-Nissan, after all the crushing defeats you've suffered so far, who in the world supplied you with the funds? That's a heck of a sum we're talking. Enough to cover your massive debt, right? What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi-san? Ah, Natsui-san, please don't get mad. We've done our research, see? We looked into it, trying to see who could have loaned Kraus-Nissan, who lost all his status thus far, enough to support his recent massively gutsy investments. And the result? No one. There is no backer. The iron rule of the money roulette is to bet against the misfortune. And Aniki, you are well known unfortunate in the neighborhood. Surely this era seems set to welcome an economic boom, but when we asked who, with respect to Aniki's failures, would find him worthy of fun, there was no one. So you see, where did you raise that money from? So it has to be Beatriz. I just wonder why she didn't give him the foresight that Kinso had. Maybe this is what she wanted. She gave him the money, but gave him false foresight. So he would intentionally fail to create whatever scenario is gonna come from this. So you see, where did you raise the money from? That's what we started to question next.
Oh? Isn't that an interesting story? And?
Dear, how long do you plan to ignore these abusive remarks?
Sit down, Natsui-san. Let me be blunt. Aniki, you have been diverting Dad's private funds for your own business. There is almost no doubt. If we made some mistake, please feel free to explain it for us.
Rudolph, this isn't diverting funds. This is embezzlement, isn't it? It's a genuine crime that can be criminally prosecuted. This is rudeness in the extreme! How can you even face the successor to the Ushirimiya head house and level these wild accusations? They aren't wild, they're right on the money, aren't they? He wants to make his business succeed so that he can recover his losses, but his debt is actually growing. Oh, he wants to get himself out of the hole he's stuck by making an even bigger gamble than before. If he had funds close at hand, it's only logical that he tried to use them. Let me say it clearly, Nissan. What you are doing is embezzlement. You are betraying our father. I imagine that we will leave you to the mercy of the courts after this is all over. Do you think those people will kindly agree to address you as successor to the Ushiromiya head house? Of all things, saying that he's betraying the head is not something I can overlook. You will no longer have the right to knock at the doors of the glorious Ushiromiya house. Leave this place immediately. Go on, get out. Natsui, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Eva in a rage. She then pointed alternatively at Eva in the hallway, indicating that she should leave. Eva took out a folding fan and fanned herself with it, glaring maliciously at Natsui as though silently daring her to repeat what she said. However, her mouth was still smiling, carved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped. Hey, Natsui-san. Oh, this is Eva speaking. Hey, Natsui-san. Who do you think you're speaking to? I am speaking to the extremely impolite sister of my husband. As the person in charge of family affairs, I cannot overlook this any longer. In charge of family affairs. Whoa! Shut up, you sorry excuse for a wife! Eva folded the fan with a snap and rose powerfully. Compared to the elegance and playful behavior she had shown just until now, she was unimaginably aggressive. How foolish! You leave! You would tell me, Ushiromiya Eva! Me, Eva, the third ranked in the Ushiromiya family hierarchy who was granted the left shoulder to the head to leave? Learn your place, and then look in the mirror at your shabby figure. Where on your clothes is the wing? Where are you permitted to wear the one-winged eagle? Your only purpose was to birth the successor to the Ushinomiya family. Know your place, witch! While Eva's face grimaced unattractively, her words pierced Natsui's heart like claws and painfully twisted in. There were 100 ways Natsui wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and not one of them managed to make it to her mouth. The anger, which had lost any place to go, became a single hot tear which slowly dripped down. What? If you have something to say, please say it now. Come on. Eva faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsui's fist was shaking. She trembled all over, unable to do anything. Kraus quietly broke that power keg tension. Okay. Maybe Beatrice is doing it just for the trolls. So, she made the whole family, right? Gave the headmaster money to make his wealth and all that. All that just so she could leave and see Kinso suffer. Maybe she's just really in it for the giggles. Just wants to see Kinso suffer and have someone grovel at her feet, begging for her to return. But she's like, just lol. But then, second layer is that she helped Kraus with money. Although, it's very likely that he just embezzled it as well. It is very likely that Beatrice had no connection with Kraus. But either way, it works. With or without connection, she did something so that Kraus would fail, so that the family would start breaking itself apart. Without her having to interfere directly, they would start tearing themselves apart, and that's all she wants. She just wants to see them fall apart and laugh at them. That is what I believe. And again, with the fact that Battler is the protagonist and Battler has red hair, something tells me that the whole purpose was for Battler to be born. To have, I don't know what he has, but Beatrice needs Battler. I'm only saying this because of his red hair, remember. I have no backing for this theory. I just think that Battler's important and Beatrice needs something from Battler. And maybe that something can only come after the whole family tears itself apart. Because, like, why didn't this happen before, right? Why is this happening now? The hotel was open for 2 years. They could have researched it and had this talk in those 2 years, but instead they're talking now. So Beatriz is pulling some strings. And also, the opening, like the ending lyric to the opening is something about the one who pulled the strings, right? So Beatriz is involved in this, whether we like it or not. She's doing something. So everything that's happening is according to the plans of Beatriz, and they have to be. So she's gaining something from the family tearing itself apart.
Natsui, leave your seat. You should cool off your head.
What? Natsui, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack. Don't you understand what they're saying about you? These people are baselessly calling you a traitor to father. We protect the glory of the Ushirimiya family. We put forth the effort day in and day out. We're striving to be paragons of nobility in order to take over the glory from father. And this is an inexcusable rambling tramples it all underfoot. And you, why won't you talk back to them? I'm talking back because you won't, but you have just been relying completely on me. And now you are telling me to go cool my head. It's always me. I'm always thinking so seriously about this family's affairs, and you just taking that and Natsui could no longer hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After that, all that remained was a somewhat embarrassed mood left the parlor. When the sound of footsteps grew distant and silence returned, Kraus shrugged his shoulders slightly.
I apologize for my wife. She has always been bad at controlling her emotions. I too have had a hard time with her.
If you've got someone like that running things, you must be on edge constantly as well. They all have massive death flags on them, TVH. I think Hideyoshi, Maria, Rosa, and Natsuhi have the biggest not red flag, but death flags. Hideyoshi because he doesn't seem very important so far. He's just been butting in once in a while, but there's not much to him. Natsui because she is just so into the family affairs. Maria because killing a child would be shocking. And Rosa because she is the youngest of the siblings and the most, like, not timid, but the most reserved. Madame, it's nothing. Leave me be. Natsui flew into her room and bent over the bed wailing. Nanjo biggest red flag. No. I think Nanjo's gonna be the only survivor. Because when these type of stories, when people die, there's always like the old guy survives so he can write down the story for future generations, right? Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway. How heartening, Madame Natsui. There is a deep enmity between her and Eva-sama. Explaining the relationship is very draining for a woman such as myself. The Ushirimiya family holds its bloodline in high regard, but if a daughter marries into another family, they would normally be removed from the family hierarchy. So under normal circumstances, Eva-sama should have been removed when she married Hideyoshi-sama. However, this was not anyone's fault. Madame definitely bore no guilt. There is no way to say it other than calling it a whim of God. Kurao-sama and Natsui-sama were not blessed with children for some time. And of course, this was the patriarchal Uroshima family. Ushirimiya family. Why did I say it like that? A wife was just a tool to create an heir. If that wife could not fulfill her only duty, she would not be treated as human. It is painful to remember how much the master tortured Madame during that time. During that time, Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama's wedding was discussed. Eva-sama was sly. Taking advantage of Madame's inability to become pregnant, she gained the favor of the master. She inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor herself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Ushirimiya register.
There was a vast difference in the Ushinomiya hierarchy between Madame, who married into the Ushinomiya family and was treated like an outsider, and Eva-sama, who was related to the family by blood and whose husband took on the Ushinomiya name. And beyond that, Eva-sama was the first to give birth, and what's more, to a boy. Perhaps you can now understand how much weaker Madame's position was compared to Eva-sama's. I'm sure Madame is tormented by the thought that if only she had gotten pregnant earlier, the master wouldn't have accepted Eva-sama's request to keep her last name after marriage, and Eva-sama wouldn't have been permitted to act as arrogantly as she had today. However, that was not Madame's fault. All of the blame lies with God's whims and the stock to deliver Jessica's son late.
Once again, that's it, isn't it? Literally, the shrine we saw at the beginning was destroyed. There is no gods here. There is no godly intervention. There is only Beatrice's intervention. There is no way that Natsui's late pregnancy was not due to Beatrice. She did it on purpose again to cause strife in the family again, so that they would eventually tear themselves apart over it again.
Even so, Madame won't allow herself to see things this way. She probably can't help but cry bitter tears at her inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife. Oh, how heartening. I cannot do anything but watch over her from the shadows.
Oh, and there it is. The end. Also, very weird that Kuwasawa is the only one that has this own narration. Why? Very odd. But yes. A 2 hour and 30-minute stream. That chapter was a long one, but that was a really good chapter. That's what I wanted. I want everything about the family affairs. I want 5 more minutes. Very well. When I'm done yapping, we'll go for 5 more minutes. I just want to say this. But that's it. 5. That's it. Okay, what was I saying? Alright, that's what I want. I want more family affairs. This is what I'm into when it comes to stories like these. I like the nitty gritty of the family stuff. I loved it. I love it. The entirety of that was so fun to read. And that was so fun. I just wish that I could gain more from it. Because when it comes to discussions like that, they're very important. There's something hidden in there. I just didn't see it. And that makes me mad. There could be a lot of symbolism there. Lots of metaphors, like the hotel representing the entire family. But we shall see, we shall see. Anyways, 5 minutes from now. We crossed the hall again on our way to the entrance. As we did, we once again saw that witch's portrait. However, the word saw is probably not the best word to describe that experience. It was more like our eyes were drawn to it. The woman's eyes, with their sage-like glamour, definitely had the power to make those who looked at her stand rooted at the spot. So this is the witch Beatrice. I wonder if it's true.
Butler doesn't believe.
Back when he had asked what this picture was, the first person to tell him it was Beatrice had been Maria. This song is so good. This is a 3-hour point that usually hooks people into the story after the slow intro. Well, I've been hooked the whole time. And nothing has happened to hook me more. I am equally as hooked as I have been. The talk was nice, but it didn't. I need more. If I am to be hooked even more. But as I said, I'm already hooked. Therefore, when Butler showed signs of doubt, Maria must have felt that Butler didn't have faith in her. Of course, that's not what Butler meant. Maria ran out to the portrait and began banging on the plate below it. Maybe the title of the portrait was written there. Maria, trying to prove that she was in line, obstinately continued to hit the plate. Sorry about that. It's not like I doubt you anything you said, Maria.
Butler believes.
When he patted Maria's head and apologized, she seemed to accept it, sticking out her chest and proudly oohing. Let us see here. My beloved witch Beatrice, behold the sweet fish river. Wait, what's with this weird long epitaph? The plate did have the title of the portrait written on it, but it was much too long to contain only that. Beneath the title, what looked like a long epitaph was also written. As I skimmed over it, I was taken aback by the array of unnerving words that jumped out at me. Incredible, isn't it? Grandfather had that written. Pretty deep, huh? I know. It's the plate where the gold is hidden. Wait, is it that story about the Ushiramiya family's hidden gold? There's another thing that takes me back. Wait, Aniki, is this for real? Grandfather had this written, but he refuses to say anything about this picture or the epitaph. Even so, among the family, it is often whispered that it points to the location of grandfather's hidden gold, and that he will relinquish the family headship and the gold to the person who solves the riddle. I heard that too. Lots and lots of gold. Well, who knows really? 10 tons of gold bars. Sounds a bit too fishy to me. Still, if you read this all the way through, it almost seems real. Can I please read it? I think I already explained grandfather's upbringing. But let me also mention the Ushiramiya family legend of the gold. Grandfather succeeded the Ushiramiya family after it had been almost totally destroyed in the Grand Kanto earthquake. And by successfully riding the stormy seas after the war, managed to accumulate great wealth. That much of the story everyone knows. However, this is where the strange part of the story begins. Part of it is closely tied to grandfather's black magic hobby, so its credibility is extremely low, but... Well, wait until the end before you doubt it or make fun of it. After the war, grandfather successfully predicted that the future would hold. His big gamble paid off, and he accumulated a vast store of wealth. Okay, I don't think Kraus has anything to do with Beatrice anymore. I think it is just a case of him wanting to be like his dad and failing miserably. But, TBH, I wouldn't be surprised if Beatrice has had a hand in Kraus's misfortune, just to continue the family destroying itself. What if that's what the contract meant? What if it's not that Kinso dies and then everything is taken away somehow? It's that it's literally all going to start imploding on itself. They're all going to start killing each other, literally or metaphorically, just at everyone's throats. And by the time that Kinso dies, everything will be lost because everyone just imploded on each other. The manor might even burn down. One of them might even burn it down. That's what the contract means. It's not that it's suddenly all going to disappear. This is all part of the contract. Kinso literally cannot die until the entire family is gone. Until everything burns down, after everything is lost, as per the contract. The millisecond he is dead, everything is gone as well, because before he died, everything was slowly building up to the massive destruction. Just like how the Kanto earthquake destroyed everything before. How the mills burned down and... Oh my gosh, it's literally just... Dude! What if the old Ushiramiya family also had a contract with Beatrice, and that's why everything suddenly broke down, because everything was separate. That's what Badler told us. An earthquake destroyed the manor, fires destroyed the mills, the mills were like someplace else, and then he didn't explain exactly how, but apparently the whole family died and only Kinso was alive. That's, you know, the old family definitely also had a contract with Beatrice, and just like the contract, everything would be lost when something happened. So it's just repeating itself. So I got it. I'm so confident in this. I am so confident in this. It's everything slowly building up for everything to be destroyed, so that by the time that Kinso dies, everything would have been destroyed by then. There will be fires. Instead of an earthquake, it's going to be a typhoon. And people are going to die. The family is dying. And here's the big gamble of mine. Just like how Kinso was the last surviving member of the previous Ushiramiya family, Battler is going to be the last surviving member of the Ushiramiya family. That's why Kinso could not die yet, because Battler was not here yet. If anything, Asumo, his mother, almost saved him. But sadly, most likely due to Beatrice's interference, she's dead and his grandparents are dead, so he had to come back. And now that Badler is back at the manor, the contract can continue to its crescendo of everything destroying itself. And this time Badler is going to be the last one surviving, and Badler's going to be the one who makes the contract with Beatrice, and it all repeats. Ooh, if I'm right, that's going to be so rad. Okay. But there is a mysterious legend about how he gained the funds in the first place. Grandfather came from a branch family and had no connections to the business world or the financial world. Even though he later built connections with the occupying forces, in the beginning he was supposedly a nameless person who had not yet gained anyone's trust. Yeah, obsession. Recess. The rose from the garden, the one that was wilting. That is the sign that everything is going to wilt away. The rot is slowly going to spread. Everything's going to wilt, and then just like roses, they can be replanted, or they're just going to bloom again another time. Just how the whole family is going to crumble, and then Badler is going to have to regrow the entire family again by himself, just like roses. Boom, bam, pow, solved everything. There's no need to play anymore. The occupying force is in the beginning. He was supposedly a nameless person who had not yet gained anyone's trust. Money can only be gathered based on trust. There is no way anyone would lend money to an untrustworthy person. How the grandfather, whose trustworthiness was zero, managed to obtain the large amount of funds in the first place. It is said that when asked that question, the grandfather answered like this.
One fateful day, I encountered the golden witch Beatrice. He then went on
and on about how he continued to research alchemy and techniques for summoning demons in order to become a great mage. And the entity summoned as the result of the demon calling ritual was the golden witch Beatrice. He then said that he made a contract where, in exchange for his own soul, he would receive fortune and honor. The witch then granted grandfather 10 tons of gold. Grandfather used this gold as collateral to prepare a vast quantity of funds, and then used that to multiply his wealth by several times and revive the Ushiromiya family. 5 more minutes. Okay, I don't know about minutes. This section, whenever this section of the painting is done and the cousins move on to another room, that's when we stop. Surely that won't take 3 hours. It seems that this story is so old that our parents had already been told it when they were still children. So our parents, when they were little, explored this island in various ways, believing that the gold that grandfather had received from the witch might be hidden somewhere. However, since there was dangers of them getting lost in the abandoned forest, grandmother or someone began to spread the story that the witch lived in the forest and approaching it was too dangerous. I remember that old story. When we were little, our parents told us about it and we went all over the island searching for treasure. Didn't we get lost in the forest and started crying until some of the servants found us? Our parents were so mad at us. That takes me back. We sure were idiots, weren't we? I mean, come on. Grandfather used to build up his funds that he finally brought this island with, right? That means he must have had the gold before coming here. There's no way that it would have been here on the island. That's not necessarily so. Maybe the gold was hidden on the islands from the beginning and he bought the whole island just to make sure it was all his. There was a whole 10 tons of it, right? It seems more realistic that he would try to secure the place where it was hidden rather than try to move at all. This epitaph was written 2 years ago, and since grandfather had it written himself. I see, this does make the legend of the gold more believable. 10 tons of gold bestowed upon grandfather by a witch, that it said he used to revive the Ushiromiya family. It's sleeping somewhere even now, and grandfather may be planning to turn it over to whoever can solve his riddle. Huh, I guess that sounds like grandfather's style of something. Why can't they tell the riddle to me, though? If it's true, that's one hell of an opportunity. The epitaph carved into the plate was very mysterious, something like a poem or a song. Its sentences were incredibly disturbing, filled with the signs of grandfather's black magic hobby, and truly in bad taste. But it could definitely be viewed as a puzzle, which if solved, could lead to the place where the gold was hidden. Please, I beg of you, read it to me. Let me see it so I can spend the rest of the time that I'm not playing the game, trying to solve it. I can imagine if that's what he intended or not. All I can say is, this shady epitaph was displayed here so that everyone in the family could see it. And that, even while hinting at the exercise of the gold, he still refuses to touch upon the subject of its hiding place. That caused our parents' imaginations to run wild and call it a battle of wits from grandfather. But it's my dad who's taking this nonsense at face value, his greed exposed to the world. Even though he laughs at grandfather's black magic hobby, he still believes the story about the hidden gold. He's all talk. Well, it's certainly not a realistic story. At that time, when grandfather was still nameless without any connections, there's no way anyone would have just let him a massive quantity of gold bars for free. Although it's not unthinkable to suggest that that's exactly why grandfather called this sponsor a witch. Yeah, but it's 10 tons. 10 tons! If you traded that for money, how much would that come to? Anyway, that'd have to be a ridiculous amount, right? It would have been a ridiculous amount. They say that the total amount of gold mined by mankind since the dawn of history is at almost 100,000 tons. 10,000th of all the gold humankind has obtained throughout history should belong to just one person is just insane. And that it should all be in one place, and that there should be a witch who could just lend it to grandfather as if it was nothing. That would be no ordinary person. As for me, I think that the number 10 tons sounds totally fake. In the first place, has anyone other than grandfather ever seen it? And even if some generous witch lent him some actual gold, couldn't that 10 be right but actually be mistaken from 10 kilos? Even 10 kilos would be pretty incredible sum, right? 10 kilos of gold is how much? Maria, who couldn't keep up and felt like she was being spoken to in riddles, finally found a place where she could ask us a question. A question which I also wanted to ask right now. Whether I hear 10 kilos or 10 tons, I know that it's an incredible amount, but I couldn't put a number on exactly how incredible. George Janicki folded his arms and tried to remember the market price of gold. Well, gold is affected by speculation, and its price can also change depending on its purity and the trustworthiness of the foundry. You would also need to pay a commission to turn it into money. Still, it is definitely a precious metal, and some people estimate that if gold mining continues at its current rate, within half a century we will have mined all of it. Just guessing haphazardly. For 1 kilo, I think maybe a price of 2 million yen. Whoa! I know I just plugged that 10 kilos figure out of thin air, but even then that would have been 20 million yen! I weigh 26 kilograms. Which means that if we had Maria-chan's weight in gold, we could estimate it's worth that over 50 million yen. That's just mind-boggling. How much would 10 tons be then? It's 20 million for 10 kilos times 1,000, so... that's it! 20 billion yen? What the hell? How much is 20 billion yen actually worth? We would have to measure it by putting it in terms we could actually understand. I mean, they say that wages over a lifetime are 200 million yen. You grow up and work like crazy, sacrificing your life for your company, and as you approach old age are finally freed. And all that together, including the retirement money, comes out at 200 million yen. In other words, that is the cash equivalent of a human's life. No, you can even call it the price of a life. We were talking about these sums so enormous that it would require 100 of those lives. Assuming we work for 40 years from age 20 to age 60, then it's equal to 4,000 years of work wages. It's a sum of money you could finally accumulate after working every day starting from the Jomon period. Is 20 billion yen huge? Yeah, it's huge. Maria, you could buy more of those shortcakes you love than you could eat in a lifetime. However, while I could imagine 20 billion yen in cash, I don't think it's very plausible for it all to be in one place as gold bars. Just as I said, gold is extremely heavy, and it is not very convenient as a method for storing all your accumulated fortune. If it was all in highly valued stocks and bonds or really expensive precious gems, it wouldn't be unthinkable. You often hear of people who, in the chaotic period of the war, traded their wealth for precious gems so they could carry it around with them. But you don't usually hear stories of people exchanging their wealth for gold. Of course it's heavy, but internationally it's the most trusted and stable. Doesn't that mean something? With bonds, for example, if the country is destroyed, they're just scraps of paper. You can also look at it that way. But even a 110 kilo ingot is pretty heavy to carry around. Have you ever heard this? Even if you can carry a 50 kilogram person on your back, you can't carry a 50 kilogram bag over your shoulder. With that many gold bars, the amount of labor and risk for one person would be hard to calculate. So what you're saying is that if we were talking to 20 billion yen in banknotes lying around, that'd be one thing. But given that it's supposedly 20 billion yen in gold piled up, it doesn't really ring true. That's right. Although the legend of the gold does have a pretty interesting ring to it, even just part of the 10 tons of gold is a little bit of a stretch. If you think about it logically like that, it sounds obviously fake. Kind of brings you back down to reality. That said, if it is grandfather we're talking about after all, he may have announced his financing from some kind of rich person in an exaggerated metaphorical way, as 10 tons of gold received from a witch. Even the number 10 tons feels pretty symbolic. I mean, isn't gold pretty important in alchemy? So if he's studying black magic, alchemy and all that, I wouldn't be surprised if he's already cooked up all the gold for potions and such. You mean like his gratitude for the money he borrowed was worth 10 tons of gold or something? Maybe some rich man's illusioned wife generously granted it to grandfather, and maybe then he started calling this lady a witch? Just because this example isn't bad. The thing is that, why is nobody making the connection that this portrait has the same hair color as two of the women in the family? If someone was... I mean, like... We haven't seen Kinzo's wife. But if Kinzo's wife isn't blonde, then where else did Kraus get his blonde hair, right? It's from Beatrice. I don't know. Too much happened. I am yapped out. If someone was generous enough to lend a huge sum of money to grandfather when his trustworthiness was still zero, she would certainly be someone worthy of being called a witch. Furthermore, grandfather later used that money to build a vast amount of wealth. With such an incredible ability to judge people, again, she might well be fittingly called a witch. Also, since she went to the trouble of lending all that money, she might also have enthusiastically guided how it was spent. Come to think of it, the idea to get involved with the occupying forces and profits from the Korean War demands might have come from that witch as well. With all that considered, saying that he received wealth and honor from a witch might actually be a fair description. I see. So in other words, this witch granted the funds necessary to revive the Ushirimiya family, and grandfather owed her big time. If that's the case, then grandfather had the huge painting drawn and displayed out for feelings of gratitude. Yeah, that might not be that strange of a story. Please read those riddle to me, please, I beg of you. Hey, what did this person look like? An old witch like Granny? And then grandfather idolized her appearance and turned her into this beauty when he had this painting drawn. I bet if we ever did meet this person, she wouldn't be nearly this pretty. That is possible. The name Beatrice sounds pretty Western, and if you think about how everyone in our family has Western-style names, maybe even the name Beatrice is the result of grandfather trying to rearrange some Japanese person's name to make it sound Western. I get it. That means that this pretty girl doesn't exist outside the picture. Guess that means I won't be able to... In the first place, isn't this a little weird? Like, you could find something like that anywhere on Earth. I so laughed and made fun of the witch in an attempt to differentiate myself from the kid I was 6 years ago, who was afraid of the witch in the forest, but he got tugged on my sleeve. We're actually going to reach 3 hours, bruh. The strength with which she did so displayed a little annoyance. What is it, Maria? Beatrice exists! Maria stared at me. She had on her usual sour look, but I could tell she was angry because of the color of her eyes. Witches exist! Wait a second, something I haven't been keeping track of is eye colors. This is too small. I made the screen on full screen, so y'all, it's gonna be stretched on stream. I'll fix it afterwards, but I'm just trying to see eye colors. Okay, Kinso seems to be black. Kraus brown. Natsuhi yellowish brown. Jessica blue. Where did you get blue eyes from? Eva brownish yellow. Hideyoshi black seems. George gray. Rudolph, their eyes are too small, dude. Kairi has like pinkish red eyes. Battler once again has blue eyes like Jessica. Rosa has brown eyes. Maria has purplish eyes. It's zoomed in because I went full screen to look at the eyes better. It will be fixed after I exit full screen. Okay, so the curious ones are Jessica, Battler, and Maria. Jessica and Battler have shades of blue. Maria has purple. But then let's look at the servants. Because both Kanon and Shannon have the same eye color as Jessica. Similar to Maria as well. Shannon, Kanon, Maria, Jessica, and Battler all have like shades of purplish blues as their eye color. That is very suspicious. Okay. I'm pretty sure Eva has... No, definitely. Next time Eva talks, I'll confirm, but Eva has purplish eyes as well. Very interesting. Very interesting. If only we could see what eye color Beatriz has. Well, sure they do exist if you turn the TV on and watch anime or something. Exist! Witches exist! I started to feel pressure, not knowing why Maria was jumping on me like this. Then Jessica tapped me on the shoulder and told me in a small voice. Dumbass, don't go smashing a kid's dream. Maria really believes in that things like witches and Beatrice exist. Come to think of it, Maria-chan, in social studies at your school, when you were asked to write what you wanted to be when you grew up, you wrote a witch, didn't you? Maria nodded seriously. Tears started to run from the corner of her eyes. I see, to a girl who wants to become a witch in the future. This Beatrice is proof that witches do exist in this world, and is also someone who she admires and strives to be like. Exist! Exist! Witches exist! But Battler doesn't believe. It's alright, they exist, witches. Oni-chan believes it. George Aniki kneeled down and held Maria's head. Watching this, Jessica poked me in the side. So that's what it is. It's basically like, I just dropped the bomb that Santa Claus doesn't exist. In front of a child who believes in him on Christmas Eve. I'm not the kind of guy who likes to shatter kids' dream. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make fun of your dreams. I apologize. Of course Beatrice exists. Gosh, I wish you could see the eyes of Beatrice from the painting. They look blue to me. I'll be honest with y'all. I'm going, until proving otherwise, I am gonna be a strong believer that Beatrice has blue eyes. These two are very, very odd, as if they weren't odd already with their names. And it means Eva and Maria are strongly connected to Beatrice, which already makes sense because of their hair color. But then, Jessica and Battler are also strongly connected to Beatrice because of their eye color. But it could just be genes, you know? It could just be genes, nothing to do with strongly connections. But these two, I mean, come on. This is undeniable. There's something going on. Especially so young. Who hires young people? Something going on. Something going on. Even now, she's living in the forest and comes every night to the mansion to peek in and see what everyone's doing. That's why you shouldn't go to the forest. And at night, you mustn't stay up staring into the dark forest. You might be seen by the witch of the forest, Beatrice. After all, our grandmother said so. Really? Butler really believes. Yep, I believe. Sorry for doubting it. Come on, let's make up, okay? I stuck on my hand and Maria grabbed it with her tiny hand and we made up. Maria didn't grumble any more than that, so George, Aniki, and Jessica were relieved. Undeniable, the eyes. That is undeniable. So these are either... I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? These are estranged children of someone. Because that is like the only reason you would hire a young person, right? Because if they were born here and you don't want to admit that they're your children, you would just hire them as servants. But they did say they were hired recently. They have to be. I don't know, there's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities. Oh? This is where all of you were. I was sure you just had left to go to the beach. Because eye color is so important. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't just randomly... give people the same eye color. There's something... Shannon-chan carrying a basket was surprised to find us all gathered in front of the portrait. Ah, Shannon. Well, this is the first time Butler has seen Beatrice's portrait. He was just fascinated by it. Yes, she does that. She does that, doesn't she? Beatrice-sama is truly beautiful. I am sure that she captivated the master. In addition to the portrait patron theory, there's also a theory that she was the grandfather's first love. Either way, although it's been several decades since he met her, even now she holds a special place in his heart. Which must mean that he is still captivated by her even now. Sheesh, that must have made grandmother pretty jealous, right? I don't know everything, but yeah, that did happen actually. Apparently grandmother believed that he was cheating on her with some blonde-haired woman. Good smell. Good smell coming from Shannon. Maria Sniffin approached the basket Shannon-chan was holding with interest. Now that you mention it, I do notice a fragrance scent with the essence of vanilla. Ah, I apologize. I was told by Kumasawa-san to bring them to you all. What is it, I wonder? Oh, excellent. Cookies. Want to eat cookies. Want to eat cookies. Certainly, you may eat as many as you would like. But, unsure whether it was really acceptable to serve cookies in a place like this in front of the portrait, Shannon-chan sent us a glance which seemed to ask what we wanted to do. Well, thinking about it, yeah, that would be bad manners. Maria, why don't we eat someplace else? Let's put the cookies in a bento and have a picnic. Have a picnic, have a picnic. If we can eat cookies, let's go. Yeah, let's go get some fresh air. We shouldn't pick that food right in front of the witch. Alright, didn't we say we wanted to go down to the beach on the first place? Let's go, let's go. Alright, this guy has a thing for her. Shannon-chan, sorry, but could I ask you to get us a blanket to sit on and some flasks of tea? Right, certainly. Shannon-chan received her instructions and gracefully bowed before retracting her steps. That's another thing. Only Shannon and Kanon have referred to themselves as furniture. So there's a lot of weirdness going on with them. Same eye color as Beatrice. It's all very weird. It's just, what does it mean? Are they the children of Beatrice? Are they Beatrice? Are they creations of Beatrice? We don't know, we don't know, we don't know. We headed for the beach on our own. Everyone headed for the entrance in a group. Feeling as though that witch was staring down on our backs, I turned around once more. They're really not gonna read the riddle to me? Butler, you still don't believe? Oh, no, I believe. That way it's more fantastical. The Golden Witch Beatrice gave grandfather 10 tons of gold. And that gold might be sleeping around somewhere. Plus, they're saying grandfather wrote that strange epitaph, though challenging us to find it if we can. Please, dude! I think the kind of romantic story is way better. 20 billion yen's worth of gold. Even if we split it up between the 4 of us, that's still a ridiculous amount of money. 5 billion yen for each of us. Incredible. With that kind of money, any business would prosper. No, wait, we could live our whole lives fabulously without ever working at all. Not 5 billion yen cookies. Cookies! Maria would take cookies over any money. Still, 5 billion yen, that's like a dream. Ooh, why do they have... No, I must stop. Scenery change, this is the end of the stream. But, ooh, coming back here just makes me want to read more. I want more family drama, but no. This is it. The end. No more. Oh, man. Very good. I'm sad that they didn't read the epitaph to me. Why? Because they know I would have solved it instantly, and that's why they didn't want to read it to me. Such is the way. Hell's Halls? Very well. This is where it all ends. No more Umineko forever. 1 more hour! No. It's GG's. That's it. No more. Hopefully, I can play more some other time. This game is fantastic. I have been hooked since the start. And I just want to know more. It irks me that I don't know that they told... whatever. I'm over it. That is all. I am out of here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Ruby and Jules and Sems, for sticking around. I appreciate it a lot. It was very fun. And now, I will depart forever. So farewell to you all, and I shall see you all next time. Bye-bye.